Good morning, good afternoon and good evening, and thanks for stopping by. Welcome to RGV Aerial Photography's deep dive into images he captured this week around the shipyard and launch site in Boca Chica, Texas. Our dedicated team will guide you through with the latest updates and theories at Starbase, Texas. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for future streams.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Starbase Weekly. This is episode 79. My name is Mauricio and I'll pass this on to Jake or Zach.
I'll go next.
Yeah, go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, it's good to be back and good to be spending Sunday with all of you. Whilst we go through this week's lot of awesome new photos. With that, I'll pass it over to Zach.
All right, hello everyone. This is Zach. Zach Golden. We're from CSI Starbase. Thank you all for joining us. And we're going to have an awesome stream for you all this week. There's a ton going on. Lots of news, breaking news, I guess you could call it. A little bit limited as far as the info that we got from Elon during yesterday's Twitter space, but still a good amount to discuss from that. So we're going to touch on that throughout the show today as it becomes relevant when we go through these images. But yeah, it was another awesome flyover. It looks like a really clear day. Gotta love it when this time of year rolls around because I feel like the weather's just generally better when you fly this time of year, right, Mauricio?
Yeah, it's a lot better. The overcast conditions pretty much are non-existent around this time of the year, but then we have conditions like the thunderstorms and also the hazy conditions and windy conditions. So I guess it evens out a bit. Oh, I was going to say that there's the other issue that it takes us forever to get to 10,000 feet now because of the heat. So, we got to battle those little things. But other than that, it's clear day, like you see.
Why does that? I'm not as I'm not a pilot, so why does the extra heat make it more difficult to get up to altitude?
I mean, I'd have to look it up exactly, but I think it has to do with the air density and that's pretty much it. They'll probably correct me in the chat, but as far as I know, that's pretty much it. We fly a lot. It's on cooler days. It's density altitude. There you go. Which is pretty much in line with what I just said. Yeah, and so that's pretty much it. In the colder weather, we get up there pretty fast. So
yeah, is it kind of like having an extra person in the plane with you?
I mean, if we had an additional person, yes, it would make it a lot more difficult to get up there, especially in these conditions during the summer. But yeah, it's just me and the pilot at this point. So, but it takes us roughly about 45 minutes just to get up to 10,000 feet. Where previously, like in the colder season, like in from November to about, I don't know, March, April, May, April, it would take us about 30 minutes to get up there. So
Wow, that's a pretty large difference. Kind of makes it more expensive as well, too, right? Lots of fuel.
yeah, I mean, it gives us less time to be over the site because I'm always trying to keep it under 2 hours for the most part. So, I try not to go over that much time. But getting back to the airport, it's really not that big of a deal. It takes us like about 10, 15 minutes just to get back because we're losing altitude. So there's nothing that the engine's not running at the capacity that it is, trying to get up to
Right.
10K. So
That makes sense.
it's a lot easier to get back.
Well, I guess with that, let's hop into today's show. Mauricio, you actually had pictures of the port this time, right? So let me start with those actually, because we were trying to search for that tank that came in on the. Was it this barge right here where that tank arrived on?
No, it would be in the port, at the very far end of the port where it ends, which would be at the very top of the image.
Okay, wrong
You're
direction.
trying to find the tank. Go to the left of the screen.
Sorry, is this a better image for it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So concentrate on the left area. Zoom in on. See where the wind turbine blades are on the left.
Yeah.
Look at underneath the bottom of those, and that is where the tank is.
Oh,
Sitting right there.
okay. So, yeah, we were wondering if this was actually for SpaceX, but there is the is the LNG facilities being constructed near here?
yes, it would be further down towards the bottom of the image, but it's out of the frame, so you won't be able to
Right.
see it.
Okay. Well, I mean, we have been assuming pretty much anytime something like this shows up that it's for SpaceX, but this may be like a temporary staging area for it until they move it down there. But we're also expecting a lot more of these to show up as well too. So, yeah, we just wanted to check on this when Mauricio went up there this week, just trying to get I guess a heads up on what we should expect with the tank farm. But not much to report so far. But yeah, with that, I guess we'll go back over to the Massey site. Always tons of changes happening over here. And yeah, we've been waiting on this new booster cryo station to be finished, and it looks like they're making some good progress on that. The rocket garden is filling up, and we know that SpaceX wants to get back to testing boosters as quickly as possible. So we've been keeping our eyes on this just to see how fast it's going to be constructed. But they're making some good progress on it. Looks like we have all of the cryo pipe work going over to the actual QD area, but there's going to be a lot of stuff going on up here, and plus the actual QD, which we haven't seen yet, but. It looks like they're making some good progress on that. And Jake, we've been trying to figure out what this is for several weeks now. Do we have any updates on what you think this might be?
I'm fairly sure that's the start of a booster pack, Shaka. Because if you look very carefully, you can see 13 mounts for 13 thrust rams right in the middle of that circle.
Fair enough. That's interesting. I mean, it's weird that they would need another version of this because they have the actual can crusher down here. You know what I mean? I guess part of the reason for this could just be related to wanting to actually test be able to do this with the QD at a certain height, right? So like I think it may actually have to be mounted higher if they were using this structure. But beyond that, I mean, and I guess you think this will actually fit underneath the transport stand?
More than likely, I'd say so. Or it might be like the ship packer shucker you see there. It might become its own stand, which would mean, the crane, you'd have to get a crane to lift the booster onto the booster pack shucker.
That's going to be really interesting. I mean, if it was on top of or underneath the transport stand and having the hydraulic pistons going up, that kind of would make a little bit of sense to me, just because it's a good offset between the two of those. But I guess you're not able to actually test the outer 20 engines in that situation, and they don't have. It doesn't look like they have mounts for the outer 20 out here, right? They're kind of just.
No.
Yeah, what is that? 16.
No, I think it was counted before. It was 12
12?
pieces on the outside there, I think. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I really like just the fact that they're doing all of this in the first place. Like having a secondary test site is really going to speed up the process of all of the pre-flight testing that they have to do on these vehicles. We still haven't seen any actual parts for any cranes coming in here yet. It looks like they're finishing up the driveway for actually be able to drive the vehicles in here. But I don't see like an actual crane pad yet. And I don't know if it's just going to be in the center right here once this is complete. But like I still don't see any signs that they're going to have a crane here.
Yeah, I'm fairly confident that's where the crane will end up sitting, right where the possible booster pack shucker is. I think they could probably fit one there.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see if they're somehow able to do this without a crane, but at the moment it's just not looking like that. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be pretty. We have 1, 2, 3, and still 4 testing stations down here, and we were kind of thinking for a while that maybe they were not going to have this one anymore because they got rid of all the pipework behind there. But it looks like they're rerouting all of this stuff to be able to do the can crusher tests from this location still.
Yeah. Yeah.
The arrangement of these tanks is just still confusing to me. Like, because you could just have all of them in one spot. I know that you have this test stand over here, which may only require fluid from just these tanks right here, right? But still, technically, it's all part of the same farm, because to do booster testing, they're all going to have to be connected. So the way that this is set up is a bit confusing. I'm waiting. I really want to see what happens once this is actually complete, because it might tell us a little bit more as far as like how all of this works. But still an interesting arrangement out here.
I tell you, the one thing I quite like about Marcy's is obviously all this pipe work's above ground, so it just makes it a lot easier to actually track where everything is.
Yeah, very true. Very true. I mean, the thing that's been confusing me the most is just the amount of vaporizers down here, because this is way more than what they have at the orbital tank farm. But I guess they kind of have a different system at the orbital tank farm altogether. But primarily, I think these are just for backfilling the tanks as they're emptying them. So as they're loading liquid nitrogen onto the vehicles, they're backfilling it with gaseous nitrogen. So I think that's what these are for. And they have a completely different system for this at the orbital tank farm. And I think I'm not sure if they do it the same at the orbital. I'd probably have to go look at that one. I haven't looked at it in a while. But yeah, just really cool being able to see all the individual components of this system. And also, I mean, in that regard, seeing it in this splayed out like this, which is a little bit more of a simple design, kind of tells you like what to look for in the orbital tank farm, as far as like how they do how are they doing the same things at the orbital tank farm that they're doing here. Kind of makes it easier to figure out what's going on over there. But yeah, continuing on, we also have the nose cone jail, which I think was being worked on this week, right? Like they're extending it.
Yeah, so what you can see there on the right is the base of the nose cone cage. That was originally sitting near the entrance to Massey's. Obviously, they didn't need that for testing nose cone 31. But now it looks like they might be setting up to test a nose cone stacked on top of a payload bay. So that's something we should definitely be keeping a good eye out for.
Yeah, and there seem to be like pretty early on getting prepared for that because we haven't actually seen. Oh well, I guess I take that back. It looks like they're at the build site, which we'll see here in a bit, that they're actually might be preparing to stack. What is that? S-22's nose cone on top of a payload section.
Yeah, the mid bay monstrosity, as I like to call it.
Yeah, so we'll get to that here in a bit. But in the meantime, there's not really a whole lot of other updates at Massey's right now, unless you had something that you noticed out here. But it is where we. Oh, sorry. Yeah, this is the one new thing we got going on down here. It appears that they've delivered 3 of the Tesla Megapacks to Massey's. And this is a bit interesting to me because we're actually expecting 3 more of these at the Sanchez site, which we'll check out here in a bit. But this I don't know if these are meant to be used without having a solar farm attached to it. I suppose they could just charge these from the 3-phase power on the grid, but they do have the only solar they have down here is the actual this water station in the back. So I don't know if they're gonna charge those 3 batteries with these. I don't think that's gonna go that well because it's not very much actual solar capacity. I need to calculate that out. So it just seems like there's something else going on down here with these having arrived now. And I'm not sure. We'd have to ask Dave what he thinks on this one, but this actually may look like an electrical substation for the whole site. Because we know they're running power to Sanchez and some of the other areas, but I'm not sure if this is also part of a electrical substation.
Well, we do have a message from Dave regarding these megapacks, and he says utility battery is the main use of those.
Right. Utility battery. I'm not sure what he means by that. But yeah, I mean, I guess just backup power for pretty much everything that's out here. I'm sure it's not like for the main operations, but we'll probably have Dave on a little bit later and
Hey, Zach,
talk about
I'll
that.
hop
Yeah,
in.
go ahead.
Yeah, so Tesla's been selling those big time, especially in Australia, as backup power for utility power stations, no solar need or involvement. They're literally just meant to be like a peaker plant to replace a natural gas turbine peaker plant that you would normally have. So I can very well see these as just being a way for them to back up or even bring in smaller power and have it available in higher current capacity for short duration for tests. So yeah, this looks reasonable to me. I think those 2 sheds are control, not substation, because they got air conditioning and stuff, not like you would have around a transformer. So I expect we will see some big transformers, or at least another transformer going in that area.
Yeah, they have a small pad for one, but I don't think that's what that's for. What about this one back here? Because I know sometimes they do have like modular transformers like these.
Yeah,
Right?
those all look like comm huts. So I'm going to say not at this point.
Okay. Well, we do have that this wiring that appears to be some of the same stuff they're using for the 3-phase system elsewhere. So we still haven't figured out whether or not that's coming to this location. Because these are
knowing what I know about what's out on Route 4, I would expect them to be bringing in 32 kV to here, just because that's really all that's available. At which point they will need an actual utility substation transformer, probably somewhere near that entrance area that they haven't put a pad in for yet. And then either aerial or underground wiring Given this is out in the middle of nowhere and they don't have a PEA requirement to bury it, I would expect we would start seeing power poles going down the side of Massey Way.
Right. And for now, it looks like they're just running everything off generators, kind of like how they've done with the orbital and suborbital farms.
Yeah, as you covered very well in your last great documentary on it, yes, they are very dependent on lots and lots and lots of generators.
Yeah, I never really thought about them that much until like trying to do their research for that episode. And you definitely helped out a lot with that. So thanks for your help on that. But it was really interesting just trying to like piece together the way that they actually power this massive facility, because you kind of just expect everything to be on a normal power grid, but it's really not. Like they're just they've been doing off the grid operations since the beginning. So pretty interesting to learn about that process, like everything that they've been doing to maintain an off the grid location. But with that, Mauricio, did we have any questions for the Massey's?
Oh yeah, we have questions and donations. So the first one here is from Jim Cavett. 1 year, he gifted one RGV aerial photography membership. Thank you, Jim Cavett. Sharpie, $10, starting off the Sharpie train, choo choo. Mary Old Elf, $10, all aboard. Chris Lyons, member for 2 months, early access. Thank you, Chris. Andrew Springer, $99.99 donation. Thank you so much, Andrew. All aboard. Thank you for everything that you do. I look forward to the show every single week. Thank you, Andrew. Huge donation there. Thank you so much. Jim Cavett, $10. Catching the RGV train. Thank you, Jim Cavett. Rocket Profit, $10. Choo choo. Thank you, Rocket Profit. Chris Lyons again, $10. No message on that one. Jake Winlow, $10. Train rolling. And Ribby, $5 donation. And thank you all so much for the donations. It helps out tremendously on these. Like we mentioned earlier, it's taking longer to get up to 10K. So these donations are really helping out in that aspect of things. So thank you so much. The first question we have here is from Mini Dr. M. Is it just me, or is SpaceX like a cat getting themselves into tight spaces with no room for expansion?
That's certainly one way of putting it.
Yeah, I had to like visualize that in my head as you were reading that. Well, I don't know. I would say that they're actually really good at doing a lot, getting a lot done with minimal space. Like they, especially at the Sanchez site, which we're about to go to here in a little bit. They're constantly like maneuvering everything around to fit in different locations as they're trying to do all this new construction work. So like this used to be an actual storage area right here, and they had to shift everything, a lot of it, to the Sanchez site just so they could do all this work. And then now they're slowly bringing it back now that they don't have as much like groundwork going on down here. So that pattern has kind of happened pretty much all around the site since the beginning of time. So yeah, I mean, while that analogy is hard for me to like directly apply to this, I kind of get what he's saying, and I would have to agree that yeah, it's a lot of shuffling going on out here.
All right, the next question is from Hank. Basically, is there going to be a mega bay at Massey's? In other words, with the crane building Mega Bay 2 being big enough to find a life at Massey's to lift ships and boosters?
Yeah, so that is possible. I mean, and we can just take a look at it here for a second from this angle. So this crane that is building the Mega Bay currently is actually from the Roberts Road facility in Florida. So I think on the tracks it says SpaceX, but on the superstructure it says Buckner. So it's like a co-owned crane, I believe. And with that said, like I think it is kind of tied into doing jobs with SpaceX to some degree. So after they're done building this, it is a possibility that this could permanently move there. However, I feel like they'll want to be using the Massey's facility before that building gets completed. So we'll probably see a completely different crane arrive here, because they're not. I don't think they're going to wait for that structure to be completed to move that crane down here.
All right, and the next question here is from Peter. Peter, what is that shiny thing at the entrance of Massey's? Can you zoom into that, to the entrance there?
Right by the security hut. I think that's what he's talking about.
I think it's to the left.
Yeah, that's a security hut. I think there's just light shining off of it.
Oh. Isn't the light coming off the car window? Oh, maybe,
yeah.
Yeah. Was that what he was talking about?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's you in the entrance. But yeah, from far away, it looks like it was like scrap or something, like stainless steel from far away. But yeah, it's just a car in a hut.
Cool. So do we have any more questions on Massey's?
That's all we have. We can move on to the next section, Sanchez.
Awesome. Let's do it. Let's head over to the Sanchez side. Go ahead.
Before we move on, if we go back to Mapley. So for anyone wondering where nose cone 31 actually went, if you zoom in just above the cell tower there, Zach, down a little bit, down to the left there. That is nose cone 31, now in pieces.
Yeah, they scrapped that pretty quickly, huh?
Yeah, it was about 2 days or something like that, I think. It took to scrap that whole lot.
It's like the cleanest looking scrap job I've seen in a while. Because I honestly didn't recognize that as being scrap when I first saw it.
But anyway, I just thought I'd point that out for everyone, or people that are wondering where the nose cone actually went.
They got rid of that quickly. Let me look at. I actually wanted to look at some ground pictures from Massey's really quick, just because we were able to see them doing that adding the extensions onto the lower part of the cage. So it does look like they are, in fact, preparing for a full nose cone with payload section in the near future. And I think this extension right here was originally taken off, right? So
so on those two uprights on the left of the lower part of the cage, I think those were the new parts that were made at the ground fabrication building a few months ago. So I think this is the first time they're using those particular parts. They seem to be slightly taller than the one on the right, and they are missing a clevis sort of halfway up as well. But yeah, that's about as much as I know about that right now.
Right, and I think they have to lengthen this because they shortened these ones. I'd have to go back and refresh my memory on that one, but I think they cut this one down. Yeah, right in this area. So they're having to re-add that length over here. So, that'll be interesting to see them actually finally test the payload section. I wonder if we'll see that happen before ship 25 flies.
Oh yeah, well, I'd like to hope so. I mean, it's well overdue, this test.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair though, ship 25 payload section is sealed shut, right? So technically, whatever test they're doing here wouldn't necessarily apply to that one. I guess the first ship that it would apply to would be ship 27.
Yeah, that's the next one in line with the usual payload bay. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And I guess they probably got some data from 24 as well during the orbital test, although probably nowhere near as much as they needed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess, through MaxQ, that's probably really the only information that they were able to really get from that. And, that's actually something I wanted to I was hoping, Elon would do his the Twitter Spaces he originally planned, which was through the his first subscribers only or whatever. And I was kind of hoping that somebody would get a chance to ask if they've got any more information than what they've already shared about Ship 24 and Booster 7. But maybe on a future one we'll get to ask him that. But let's move over to the Sanchez site really quick.
While you do that, let me just call out some
sounds good to me.
donations. We got a donation from JK Video, $20. Thank you, JK Video. Jim Cavett, $20 PayPal donation. Fuel and Sunny Treats. Thank you so much, Jim Cavett. And that's it. We can move on here.
Speaking of Sunny, I don't think we've seen a welfare check on Sunny in a while.
He's here. He's in the same room as I am right now, and he's fine. I haven't taken him out there because the heat is brutal,
Yeah.
to say the least. And the only way it works out is if I take him early in the morning. I haven't been out there early in the morning, so. But yeah, he's still here.
It's been topping 100 a lot over the last few days, right?
Yes, but it feels a lot worse. Feels like 110 or 115.
That's just crazy. I mean, I can only imagine what it's like actually working out in those conditions all the time. So shout out to all the workers down there for everything that they do, because it's really difficult being out there on pretty much 12-hour shifts. So I think at that point you almost would welcome being on the night shift. But yeah, continuing on, I guess we'll start at the bottom of Sanchez. So one of the first things that I noticed when I was looking at these images, because with this just being a topic that I've been covering recently, so it looks like they are planning on the trench that's coming from the launch site. Looks like it's about to end outside of the Sanchez site, which is kind of what we were expecting. So there's a main conduit line that goes like straight through this area, and we're kind of wondering whether or not they actually have activated any of this at the site yet, because the line from Magic Valley Energy ends right here, and we didn't know whether or not they actually crossed the street, but it looks like they're planning to do that now. So we can see some augers down here, and some other equipment that we believe is for directional drilling equipment, and it's not like a normal like directional drilling, it's like a horizontal drilling, and I wish that I had that to show. Maybe I could pull that up here in the background really quick. But yeah, if I can find that, then I'll show that here. But yeah, they're gonna do directional drilling through the street, which it looks like they actually have some pipes over here as well too, which are part of that. So the conduit will run through those pipes underneath the street, and it seems like it's essentially made to their goal is to not have to shut down traffic here, because they've had to cross all of these intersections and driveways on their way to this location. So we can actually just look ahead a little bit at I'll go to the front of the build site area. So they went down like through the front of the build site. They had to cross this street, and in front of the build site, they finished that this week as well too. So they ran both trenches across here. It was actually kind of weird because it seemed like they dug another trench back here, a third one, but you can see the two trenches running side by side right here, all the way to Remedios, which is where they're currently waiting to cross the street. So going back to the Sanchez site, go ahead.
They've, I think as of yesterday or the day before, they have actually started crossing over Remedios. Because I think Mauricio said yesterday it was blocked off, or someone else said that yesterday, that they couldn't get down Remedios.
Yeah, that would make sense. So yeah, I mean, it looks like they're coming all the way over here, and then both lines are coming into the Sanchez site. So they do have a decent way to go on just getting all of this activated, and we're still waiting on the actual substation to be completed as well too. So moving up to there, this is what I mentioned earlier as far as like expecting 3 more Tesla Megapacks to arrive here. But that's why I'm wondering if the ones at Massey's will actually end up getting moved here once they have a little bit more space cleared up. But yeah, I think this is like the switchgear room or whatever. Maybe Dave might want to chime back in on this one. I'm not sure like what they might have inside of this one, because we have what we believe are possibly breaker boxes or switch boxes back here as well too. And we're still waiting on the actual like transformer to show up. Initially, I was expecting it to be right here, but then they've kind of built this room on top of it. But there is a ton of conduit coming up back here, so it is possible that the actual transformer, whenever it arrives, could go back in this location.
I'll pop in. Yeah, the building they're building looks like it's going to be switchgear, so breaker panels, probably secondary of the input transformer, and then breakers going out to all the various facilities around the site. So a breaker for a wide bay, a breaker for a high bay, a breaker for the Star Factory, a breaker for the production site, a breaker for launch site, etc. I think those 2 things that you said might be breakers may actually be the transformer.
Yeah, we've had some ground images of these, and we weren't able to fully determine what they are. They kind of looked similar to just breaker boxes, but maybe we'll have to do a little bit more.
Well, and then we have a big transformer right there under your cursor, so there's definitely stuff happening here. But also interesting that these mega packs have not been uncovered, and the plastic is still on them, whereas the ones at Massey's are fully uncovered and look like they might have already been wired in. So I think Massey's is actually a higher priority than this, interestingly.
Yeah, I did consider this being a transformer for the substation, but I think this was actually installed back when the power station was installed. So I think this might be actually related to this facility. Not certain though. It's got a lot of this was confusing to figure out, especially in this area, because there's like so many layers of conduit down here. Like this is probably the third or fourth time that they've dug up down here to add conduit. So I don't even know how they're getting all of that in there. Yeah, we're going to keep our eyes on this one. And, I guess we'll also speak on what this is connected to, the air separation plant. So we did see, I've kind of been waiting to see them clear up this area a little bit so they could start the expansion work on the air separation unit. And I think we may have our first signs of it. So this week, this is BN, oh my gosh, 2.1? No.
That's BN2.
Okay, yeah, BN2. So they actually cut this in half and removed the top off of it. So it looks like they're scrapping this as well too. So that'll be the first sign that they're kind of clearing stuff up in this area. But then we do have these, I actually think this is a temporary structure that can move out of the way. But yeah, we've been waiting just to see signs that they're going to expand this. Another thing in the way of that, obviously, is the engine install station, but I think this can easily be moved once the mega bay is completed. So,
yeah.
We also have some demolition work going on one of their. I don't even know what this is. By looking at it now with the roof taken off it, it kind of just looks like it was a almost like an office.
Yeah, it looks like
equipment
three shipping containers with a roof on it by the looks of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that was a fab area, a welding fortress that got a roof put on it.
Yeah, they have these all over the place. I think I'm gonna miss that aspect of Starbase. it is kind of really cool to just to see it the way that it's transforming right now. But I'm gonna miss the way they had all of these shipping containers all over the place. Shipping container lifespan is being shortened at Starbase for sure. But yeah, let's move back down to the lower left of the site because we just completely skipped over the ground fabrication building, which, as you all know, has been completely demolished as of now. So, matter of fact, we can just go ahead and skip ahead really quick and look at that. Don't cheat and look at all this Star Factory stuff, you guys. So, the ground fabrication building, which used to be down here near the road, completely demolished at this point. They're already removing the foundation for it. And you can see down here all of the steel, the structural steel for that building, along with the bridge crane that was inside of there. I think this is a 15-ton bridge crane.
What was it 13 ton? I think it was an
13,
odd
that's
number.
such a weird number. Okay.
Yeah.
You might be right. And this is the front sliding door from the what we call the pizza oven. And just really all of the support, the structural supports and all that stuff are all just laying in here. So it looks like they're slowly moving all of this to Sanchez, but they do have to finish the actual foundation first. So yeah, they've got a lot of work done on the actual conduit. So, laying the electrical work beneath the building, and I'm guessing by this time next week, we'll probably have seen them start laying out the actual foundation for this. So like I said, the structural steel main supports are already down here. So this will probably start rising out of the ground pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm still curious to see which orientation the building's going to be in. I'm assuming it would face towards where the entrance is into Sanchez, into that sort of area.
Yeah, I mean, I've been looking to see how far up they're going with this, and it's actually deeper than I was expecting. So it is kind of difficult to figure out the actual orientation of this building just based on that alone. And it may actually, I don't know if this is the exact footprint though. Like for everything that was connected to it, the lean, is that what they're called? The lean-tos on the side of it? Yeah. So we're not sure if it's going to be built back the exact same, but the footprint is at least similar. And as you said, the orientation is going to be interesting, although this kind of looks like it's supposed to be the front driveway right here.
Yeah.
So moving on, we do have some more progress on the booster transport stand. So it looks like they actually have the stabilization pins on here, and I'm not sure these actually they didn't have these installed last week, right?
No. And before we go any further with that transport stand, it's worth mentioning that Booster 11 is now sitting on that stand at the Rocky Garden.
Wait. Oh, they brought this into the Mega Bay to put Booster 11 on top of it?
Yep.
Huh. I completely missed that part. I thought they already had it on a transport stand in there.
No, that was still sitting on the turntable in the corner, I think.
Well, on that note, let's take a look at the Rocket Garden really quick. We'll come back down there in a minute. But yeah, got to eat a little bit of crow on this one because I did not expect them to actually put another staging pad right here for a booster. So yeah, we actually do have another staging pad here. And last week we saw how they had laid some conduit underneath it. And I don't know, I guess I just didn't really think that they were going to put embeds on top of that and put all that weight on the booster from the booster on top of the actual electrical conduit. But it looks like they have done that. And this one's a little bit weird because it's not really in line with the others. But I mean, it's literally like in the street now.
Yeah, it's not in a particularly great place, is it?
So is there more room for more pads or no?
I mean, I said this last time. Last time I said no. I was like, they're not going to put another one in here, but they did it. So I don't know. I don't think that you could fit. I don't think you could fit one in this spot because you have all the drainage down here. So, but then again, they could just build another pad on top of the drainage. So, I guess we shouldn't say that it's impossible.
I mean, I guess it's always
this is
possible
probably
they
like-
could. Yeah, I guess they could do the extreme and just move that drainage, but they're still going to be running out of room.
Hey,
Right.
Zach, show that shot from the mudflats. I went out there and for the first time in a few months, and it looks crazy to see how the Rocket Garden looks from that side. Obviously, it doesn't include Booster 11, but
Yeah. Let me pull in that shot. Hold on. So, wow. I'm gonna have to zoom out on this one so we can actually see the whole thing. This is crazy back here. And this is what it looked like on Friday.
On Friday, yeah.
Yeah, and so if we look at the present day, I actually have some images. An image that Starship Gazer took this week. I got this little sneak peek for you guys. Don't look at that either. Where is it? So this is from Starship Gazer. He took this yesterday, I believe. So you can see, man. I don't even know if I can. All right, ship 20, ship 20, ship 27.
Yeah.
This is SN 15, ship 26, booster 4, booster 10, and booster 11.
Yeah.
That is a rocket garden. I mean, dang, if there was ever a time to go down there and just like get a picture in front of this, I would say now is that time. This is pretty intense. Like no other rocket company has an arsenal like this just sitting outside, a fleet just sitting outside of their production facility. You know what I mean?
It's quite a sight to see, to say the least.
Even Falcon 9s, like you can't just go see Falcon 9s posted up somewhere. You know what I mean? Wow. I just wonder if they anticipated it getting like this right now, like if that was always part of the plan. But I mean, by the looks of it, it may even have to get larger unless they decide to scrap Booster 4, which I don't know. A lot of people are thinking they'll do that, but I'm not sold on that idea with it. I mean, being the first booster, it's, one that will just stay here permanently, could just stay here permanently, but I don't know. We'll have to keep our eyes on
I mean,
that.
if it does stay, it's obviously got to vacate that stand because it's the they made all those upgrades to the transport stand it's on that other boosters will need to use.
Right. Good point. Yeah, that's an amazing view.
It's yeah, worth mentioning as well. This is just a taste of what's to come in the future because obviously at some point later on down the line, there's going to be a massive fleet of vehicles that'll obviously all need to be stored somewhere, which they're waiting to be launched. So yeah, this is literally just a taste of what's to come.
Yeah. And, I guess to some degree, it was a little obvious that they were potentially going to do this because they did have an additional tank down here, which is basically, I think the same as this one right here, a nitrogen storage tank. And so they use the vaporizers down here to feed gaseous nitrogen to the ships and boosters, and that's how they keep them pressurized. So I think right now with booster 11 over here, they probably have an actual pressurization trailer because I don't know if they have enough, or actually,
Yeah.
this might already be set up.
He's just yeah.
Yeah, look, because I got one,
just about to
2,
say-
3.
Yeah, that's something I noticed yesterday, that it was actually a sign that there was going to be a booster pad on the way, because there's one of those for each each holding pad in the back right corner.
Yeah, good point. Not sure how I did
It's the
not
same
notice
with you
Wonder how
can't
many
see it
weeks
in
it's
this
been
shop, but it's the same with. Be interesting to know.
Yeah, so I feel like they just added that in here. I'm surprised I missed that.
But yeah, you can see from this angle as well. There's the same thing going on with the ships as well. They've also all got one. Apart from SN15, it seems to be a little bit different with that.
Yeah, this is like the old school one. You know, I guess if having
So
three
yeah, so
positions
basically,
in
if you
here,
see one of,
let's go ahead. Oh, you with it, Jake?
I said yeah, basically, yeah, I'm still here. So yeah, basically, if you want an idea if there's a new holding pad on the way, just look for those pressurization equipment in the corner.
Yeah, and like I said, I was actually expecting that the next expansion to this will actually be in this area over here, but we haven't really seen any movements on changing this over to something else yet. So for now, this has been enough for them, though. I really want to almost get down there just to like take a picture in front of that rocket garden.
I was talking about it earlier, but it's insane what that view actually looks like in person because I typically go out there to the Rocket Garden to get the shots that I typically get for the show, and I never stop and put down the camera to actually look up and just take in the moment, you know. And it's interesting, you know, to even have this type of stuff going on down here in South Texas because not a lot of people know about this, surprisingly, you know, believe it or not. So, but yeah, we got a couple of donations. I don't know if we can go through them right now. Is that all
Yeah,
right? All right, we got the first one from Astropreneurs, $9.99. I think I can. I think I can. I guess jumping on to the to the train there, donation train. We got the D1 member for 2 months, early access. Thank you so much, J Tan. $100 donation from J Tan, and follow up message said it was for the flyover. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much, J Tan, for $100 donation. We got a $10 donation from PayPal from Kenneth. Codes, quote, keep flying. And then another $10 donation from Kenneth Codes. Also, this one's for Sunny Biscuits. Thank you so much, Sunny. Appreciates those. And Sharpie gifted one membership, Rocket Profit, $10 donation. Sing some green and make some friends. Thank you, Rocket Profit. Dave Every gifted 5 memberships, along with Rocket Profit gifting another 5 memberships. So a lot of new memberships going around. Somebody said it's raining memberships. Appreciate that, Dave and Rocket Profit. And that's all we have for now. So back to you.
awesome. Yeah, thank you all for all the donations. Really appreciate all the support every week, and I think this is maybe the first time we've had 1.1 thousand by the time we're at Sanchez, I think. So pretty early in the show for this many people. So we appreciate all of you being here with us. And yeah, I guess moving on a little bit. Oh, sorry. Were there questions as well, Mauricio?
Let's see here. We might have had one question here put through from Johnny. Is the crane currently holding S-26 owned by SpaceX? And if so, could it lift the booster crane for Massey's? Actually, I think we might have answered that. A similar question, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've mentioned it in past weeks, but we can go ahead and answer it again. I mean, obviously this one is definitely tall enough to lift ships, but I don't think it can lift boosters. And the other issue with that is, you know, they're probably going to want to keep this here as long as they're using this engine install stand for installing engines on ships. So next after this will be ship 27 moving over here. So once ship 26 moves to the Massey site, we'll probably see 27 over here, which means they're going to need that crane to get it there. So yeah, I don't think this will be won't be the crane for that job.
All right, that was all the questions we had. Real quick, John Malkin, $9.99. Are all vehicles in the Rock Garden pressurized?
Yeah. So, as long as they're not being held by a crane, they pretty much have to be pressurized. There are times where they don't have them connected to anything because they do obviously hold pressure pretty well. So like once you have them pressurized, sometimes they can keep them without having one of these attached to them for a while. But in general, they have to remain pressurized just for structural stability purposes. So these are, if you're actually at the Rocket Garden, usually you can hear the generators running back here. So yeah, they gotta keep this going 24/7.
All right, and then real quick here, Shenandoah Smith, $49.99. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Thank you so much for the $49 donation. We got another one here, Spock X. Thanks, guys, $10 donation. So thank you all for the donations. I really appreciate that. We do have a question here from Ian McBoy. The space between the new Mega Bay and the Rocket Garden for another Mega Bay or more Rocket Garden? So that's a question. So is it for a Mega Bay or a Rocket Garden?
Sorry, I'm gonna find a better picture.
He talking about the area where
Yeah, we're talking about the area there where they're staging the parts for the new Mega Bay.
Yeah, I mean, it is. Well, it is possible for them to build another Mega Bay back here, but as you can see with this one, they kind of need to get onto the back side of it as they're doing this install work. So, both the work platforms and the actual crane needs to be able to get behind the building. So I just don't think they have enough space to do that here. It is possible. It is possible that they could move this road over, I suppose. So, putting basically a road through here and that connects to the Rocket Garden, because I don't think they really have a purpose for this lot right here anymore, since they don't have their actual Airstream park here. So yeah, it is possible that they could put the road through here and then put an actual another Mega Bay there. So that would be really interesting to see. But on that note, I don't know if they have a reason for a fourth one yet. But I suppose in the future that may become necessary. I don't know. That's even crazy to me to think that they would have a need for another one. At least at this point in the
I mean,
game.
at that point, they might. Yeah, at that point, they might as well just build Starbase VAB if they need to build another Mega Bay.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine what a larger one of these would look like. I just don't know if that would. I think it would require a lot more structural support than what they have on these. Because when you're talking about even more bridge cranes being in there at the same time, so yeah, I don't know. I think they're kind of maxed out on the size that they can do without significantly upgrading the type of structure that it is.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I guess we will move back, and as we're talking about the Mega Bay, they have moved, I think, both of these sections over to the front of the Mega Bay. And on that note, we might as well just talk about it as well because it's directly related to that. So at this point, we've seen this section has been lifted on. The two rear sections have been lifted on for this level. And I think there are two more sections sitting outside of it right now. So yeah, they're currently in the actual Rocket Garden, I believe, is only this last one, or not the Rocket Garden, sorry, Sanchez site, only this one remaining here right now. So a little bit interesting on that note because they, up until this point, have been moving really fast getting the new sections built. But I wonder if they're just behind a little bit or if they're going to actually move this to another location soon.
It's yeah, if you bring up a ground shot of that area, I think that he did start assembling another section on Friday, I think it was. So, and I think Marisha got photos of it.
Well, this is a good one. I'll see if I can find that here in a second. This is a good one showing the actual mega bay from the back bay. That's what they call this, the back bay. I think is it the back bay or the dry bay? I'm not sure. But yeah, this is from the rear of the building essentially, and we were kind of wondering whether or not they were going to start the actual paneling on the bottom, but it looks like they've finally done that, because up until this point, it was like they had none of this on there, which was a little bit different from how they did the first structure, because they didn't start lifting the second level until they had all the paneling up on the side on the lower level. But yeah, this is kind of, I think, crazy if you were there for the first one being built, like seeing another one arise. I don't know, it's kind of wild. See if I can find that really quick. We go. Oh wait, I think we're on the other side of that building.
Yeah, I think it was just as Mauricio was starting to go into the mud flats. I think that's where you'll find the photo.
Yeah. I do not see it. I mean, it may be in a different location in this gallery that I have. And sorry, I'm scrolling through the thumbnails up top. So if you guys, I know you guys can't really see that, but I'm scrolling through all of the thumbnails for these images up here, trying to find that specific image, but I do not see it. Oh, here we go.
Ah, there you are. You can see them going up there, look.
So this is the one that actually moved already though, right? Oh, okay, here's the new one going up.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, well, let's hop back over to that aerial image. So yeah, it looks like they're pretty much doing like one level per week. They were a little bit slower this week, and I don't know if that was just because they need to put up all the siding on the building first. So in between, not the siding, the cross members. So after they put all the corners up here, they put the cross members to join them, and then they have to put all of the lateral Z-girds on there. And so I don't know if like the reason that they slowed down this week was just because they were waiting to get that work done, or if it was related to the construction work in the front of the building. But it seems like, I would say, like one level every week and a half now. It seems to be the current rate that they're moving at, which is pretty fast. I mean, soon enough we'll be seeing that those bridge cranes arrive. Don't know where they're going to put those, but yeah. So after this flyover, as I was saying, these two pieces are gone. I guess this transport stand was used for booster 11.
Yeah.
So a lot changes in a little bit of time. And then moving down to the water-cooled steel plates, we have been watching these pretty much every week to try and see all the little incremental changes, but it looks like they're nearing completion on these. They have the rear shields on the back, which cover up the pipes. So they finished that a few weeks ago on the smaller manifold over here, and I think they may still be in the process of doing that on this one.
Yeah, I think yesterday the canopy was lifted onto that one. So all three of those plates have now got the canopies.
Right, and we're still missing three more sections of this, and plus everything that goes in the center. So, really odd that we just haven't seen those come out of this tent yet. Oh, I thought I was going to be able to see the front of the tent. Here we go. Right, so all of the remaining pieces are inside of this tent, and still waiting on them to take this front off here so they can actually move them out. But before they do that, we still have a huge concrete job that has to be completed at the launch site. So we're going to take a look at that here in a bit. Oh, wow. I wonder if these were here before. Sorry, I'm still thinking about the actual electrical system down here, because it's really complex trying to figure out everything that they have and haven't done so far. So getting distracted by those vaults in the ground. But yeah, so we're waiting on this the wall of the structure to come down so that we'll actually be able to see the plates on the inside, but that may not happen until they're actually ready to move them.
Yeah, it seems like someone might have jumped the gun a bit, getting the cladding off at the end of that tent, and starting that job.
I mean, I was excited when I saw it. I thought we were just, you know, gonna have them reframe this so that they can actually put a door on the backside of it, because that is one of the weird things about this tent is there's no large openings in it. So there's the smaller doors right here on the side, and I think an equivalently sized door on the other side. Let's see if I can get on the other side of it. Yeah, I mean, there's doors for basically deliveries to drive through, and I think this is essentially the only one where they're going in and out of with forklifts, but nothing really large enough to drive those plates out of. I mean, if we, oops, sorry about that. If we look at the plates from the aerial view, try and get them all in the same frame, you can see these are much larger than that entrance, so that's why they got to take the rear off of that tent. But actually, at the same time, you know, I don't think they have manifolds on the ones on the inside, so they may be able to turn them sideways to get them through this door. But I mean, as it looks so far, they're definitely going to be taking that wall down.
Yeah, I can just picture it now, them trying to get through these smaller entrances and just getting the plates stuck.
Or just dropping them. I mean, it would be probably that's a lot of steel on those plates, so I imagine it may be difficult to change the position of it without using a crane. So, and that could be another thing as well too. In order to even move them, they may have to get a crane through this or through the side to actually lift it out onto some SPMTs or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving on. We haven't really seen any other like changes with these yet, other than that. So, like we said, most of the big changes this week are with the actual foundation work on the launch mount. But this seems to be a super long process on the plates, and it kind of makes sense why they waited as long as they did, or I guess didn't wait to do that first launch, because it was going to take 2 to 3 months in order to get these ready. I guess longer than that, because it's been, what, 2 months already? Just over 2 months?
Yeah, they've been working on these quite a while already.
Yeah. So it does make sense why they didn't delay that first launch for that reason. But moving back over here, we always point out where the new concrete's going. So we have a new concrete pad being laid back here, and I think this just is part of their storage area for this, for the inventory tent. So it looks like they're just expanding that storage area out. I could have sworn they already had concrete here, though.
Probably did, but like most concrete in Starbase, it never lasts long before being churned up.
Yeah. And once again, we can see those vaults coming in, which look like they're going to go underneath the road instead of through it. And so this is that electrical box for the Magic Valley Power Company. So they'll have the 3-phase lines coming through under the road and into the actual Sanchez site where the substation is, which is going to be kind of weird because the launch site conduit is going to also be running to these same vaults. So it'll be interesting to see how they actually do that. But moving on, I don't think we have much else happening at the Sanchez site that we haven't mentioned.
One little thing. Oh, sorry, Mauricio, go ahead.
Oh, that's fine. You can go on. I'll ask the questions after we're done here.
Yeah, so there's one last little thing outside of the inventory tent. If you go up a bit more, see where that blue skip is. Go closer to the container wall.
The container wall? They don't have a container wall
So
down here.
go right a bit. Go right and then straight up. You can see another booster thrust puck that was delivered recently. It's facing straight towards the container wall.
Oh, right here. Yeah, that's really tough to see from this angle.
Yeah, it hides a bit.
That's not the right image. This might have it. I'm still not far enough over. Bear with me. All right. So which booster is this for? Is this
So if I'm remembering correctly, and I'm sure Jax will probably correct me in the chat. I think it was for booster 18 plus.
that doesn't sound too sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, booster 18 plus.
Okay. Well, on that note, as we're talking about boosters, we do have some new developments this week, which came during Elon's Twitter space yesterday. Didn't go that well, but he did give us some new information that we hadn't previously. Well, I guess we were kind of expecting it to some degree, but it was good to get some confirmation on it. But what Elon said during the Twitter space was essentially that they have made a lot of changes to the boosters, and I might as well just go ahead and show some boosters. So they've made a lot of changes to both the booster and Starship. I think he said there was like over 1,000 changes that they've made. But one of the biggest ones that he mentioned was that they now plan to hot stage the Starships. So essentially what that means is that they, will be shutting down most of the engines on the booster as they approach stage separation. So they may leave, I don't know, possibly the center 3 engines running, and then start the engines on the ship while the booster engines are still firing. So that's going to be kind of interesting. Number one, I have some questions on that because he didn't get a chance to go more in depth into it. But actually, hold on. Let's show some renders. This one is from Tony S on Twitter. So I'll show you guys his Twitter page right here. He's a ninja. So Tony put out some pretty good renders on this, and he showed a few different ways how this could work. But I guess I'll explain it from this side. So essentially they have they will need a way of like venting the actual exhaust from the ship's engines out of the side of the inner stage. So Elon mentioned that this would give them an extra, was it 10% payload capacity?
Yeah, 10%.
Yeah, so by doing this, they're expecting to be able to increase their payload to orbit by 10%. And another interesting question on that, so they've recently mentioned that they're up to, what was it, 250 tons in expendable mode? I think it's 150,
Yeah.
150 reusable and 250 expendable.
I did see 300 mentioned at one point, but I don't know. I think it might be something like 250 for just one of the stages expended, and then 300 for both stages expended, I think.
Right. And I wonder if those numbers included this design change in that. And I think possibly the most interesting part about all of this is that it has to happen. It seems like it's going to happen before this next launch. So this may be a modification that happens to Booster 9 and or Ship 25. I mean, okay. So what he said was that this is an additional section that goes on top of the booster. And I guess the reason it needs to be on top of the booster is, number one, you need a place for that exhaust to exit out of, and number two, you need to actually be able to protect the top of the booster because we still want this to be reusable. So the actual top of the booster, and let me actually go and look at a top of a booster really quick.
Yeah, I was definitely quite surprised when we were told yesterday that hot staging would become a thing on Starship, because the rockets that you currently see hot staging used on aren't supposed to be fully reusable like this. So, be interesting to see how this goes.
Well, we've got when we get over to the build site, we do have a E-dome on a single ring that might sit on top of this as protection for all of this.
Yeah, I'm going to show the different possibilities that they have for this. So, but just really quickly, on the top of the booster, you can see that. Well, number one, it is the forward dome of the methane tank. So there is a little extra reinforcement on it, but there's also the actuators for the grid fins. And so all of this is going to have to be protected. You're not going to want 6 Raptors firing down on top of this. So part of the new interstage, I guess you can call it, is going to have to, number one, protect the top of the booster and also give it a place for the actual exhaust to vent out of before stage separation. So going back over to, I don't know if I should show the renders first or if I should show in front of the, let's look at the sections in front of the ring yard actually. Need a good angle showing the front of the mid bay. This will do it. So we have a few pieces that we've seen over the last few weeks. One of them, which is not pictured here, that one is the actual one that shows the that had the vents on the side right here. So that was a single ring that we saw. I think it went into the high bay, and then we don't know what happened to it.
Yeah, we
Is
don't
this
want to
still
talk about it. It had the letters "scrap" labeled on it.
Right. Yeah, it did. It had it did say that it was supposed to be scrapped. So we actually thought it was scrapped, but we're assuming that could have just been their first prototype version of that. So it would make sense for it to get scrapped. But right now, outside of the mid bay, we have this section right here, which I think it had 20 ports on the side of it. Oops, sorry. Let me get to the right image. My bad. So this section right here has 20 ports on the side of it, and there is a forward dome on sleeved inside of it. So one of the things that I'm not 100% sure on here is whether or not the ports are above the dome weld.
They look, no, I think they're just below that dome, I think. Although that steel ring on top is quite deceiving, and it does hide quite a bit.
Yeah, it's tough to tell how deep the dome is into this ring section. But what we do know is that, this could be involved in that system. So, you may want to have an entire dome above the forward dome. So 2 domes on top of the booster in order to actually protect it. So yeah, that's really interesting to me because that's a lot of mass that you're adding to do this. And let's go back and look at the different renders that we had for this. So this is one version of it that shows just the those vents on the side. So this is just a single ring in between the booster and the ship. And then this is another version of it, which let me actually zoom in on this. So this is the piece with the common dome, with the forward dome on it. So you have a dome on top of a dome, and then up here is the actual the vents for that hot staging. So I don't know. I think and then there's one third option as well too, which clicked out of that. Is just that one piece with the holes in the side of it. So yeah, I think this may be the least likely.
Yeah, that one I believe after this render was made was pointed out that the dome here would hit the bells of the Raptors, so this one probably won't work.
Plus, it looks like it would restrict the engine exhaust plume being able to escape as well if it's going through just those little holes.
Right. Yeah.
This one I think is the likely one, and I think that all the little vertical gaps in the holes will end up getting stringers on them. So
Yeah.
in the vent ring, it would be loaded with stringers.
Yeah, I wonder if stringers are going to be enough right there. Imagine they may even like double plate this along the
Yeah, I mean
parts.
that's sort of the Pez dispenser door reinforcement idea.
Yeah, because this is a lot of material that's been removed here. So,
Yeah, but I could see a stringer on the inside and the outside of each of the verticals would give you back most of that strength.
right. Yeah, this is going to be really interesting. I would say this is we kind of had theories on this back in a few weeks ago when we first saw that, and I don't know if we actually believed that it would truly happen, but with confirming that, it's probably one of the most interesting changes to the actual design of the vehicle in a long time. I feel like I would have expected to see the position of the flaps change before something like this happened. But, with doing this, this is an addition that needs to be made to Booster 9. And so what we don't know is if, I wonder if it's possible that this interstage piece ends up not being reusable at some point. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder how long it can last with, even having the vents on the side, you're still going to have a direct blast on top of that dome. And so over time, I feel like it's going to slowly erode away the actual dome and punch through it at some point. Like if you're, I don't know, 20 to 30 launches in or something like that, maybe even less. But yeah, I mean, there's so many questions on this. I really wish he had a chance to speak on it a little more. But the other things that this means is that when the ship is sitting on top of the booster, the QD is now 2 to 4 meters higher than it originally was.
We have a question on this topic from Peter. Are they raising the SQD due to the hot staging extension on the booster then?
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that is that they're going to need to actually, and let me go back to these ground images really quick. They're going to need to extend the QD on the launch tower in order to reach that. So that could be part of the reason why we've seen that QD removed on the launch tower. And give me 1 second as I try and grab an image from there.
Yeah, I have been wondering how long are they going to keep going extending the QD upwards on that arm before they might as well just move the entire arm up the tower.
Yeah, that's a good point because right now, like one of the limitations I would say is, number one, it's going to be I think a little bit less stable, like the whatever they have up here, because when it reclines back in here, it sits like flat on top of the actual the top of the structure, and so this one's actually going to have to be like up a little bit higher just in its resting position. And in order to extend up an additional 2 meters, they're also going to need the work platforms to extend 2 meters higher. So that's kind of sketchy.
I'm wondering if they're going to actually build almost another arm on top of this one of rigid structure that then the QD sits on.
Yeah, I did think that might be they might have to actually add proper framework around the QD unit, so it's a bit more closer to what the booster QD is like.
Yeah, it's gonna require some alteration, and we'll probably see that, I would say, around the same time that they start testing the booster again, because they won't be able to do full stack testing until they have this completed. So, I mean, go ahead.
So we know that this end extension on the QD, right, the center of the frame here, that's all a separate piece. I wonder if they could just build a new end 25, 30 feet of the QD back to the pivot point.
Yes.
Yeah, back to there and go up from that, make a replacement for that whole piece. They've already gained, they do have some weight margin. They got rid of the claw, so they got some weight to play with from their design weight.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to look really interesting. I feel like if they were actually redesigning this, that we may actually have already seen them start that though. Right? Like that would be something that you need to be working on now, I think. And it would, I feel like we would have definitely seen it by now. We also haven't seen we haven't seen any sign of the umbilical, right? Where did they move that to?
I'm still not 100% sure about that, but there is tents around the place that we haven't seen underneath yet. So it may be under one of those.
Okay.
Here's another question.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, the question was from Conrad Mueller. How does this design? How does the design increase the payload capacity to 10%?
I'm not sure if I can explain this the right way. So, I mean, essentially, part of what they're trying to do is remove the period where after you cut the engines, the vehicle starts to like fall back to the earth for a few moments. So they want to, as Elon put it, how did he say it? Never stop thrusting.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think
That's
he was talking about the
SpaceX T-shirt idea.
yeah. I think he mentioned the gravity losses was what was brought up when he mentioned this 10% increase.
Yeah, between MECO and second engine start, there's about, I think somebody this morning looked at the video, it's about 6 seconds where the vehicle is in free fall on a Falcon, and we don't even know what it's supposed to be on a Starship, obviously, because we've never seen it stage. But there's at least 5 to 10 seconds of free fall, at which point the whole assembly is heading back towards Earth and getting increasing downward velocity, at which point when you relight your engines, you've got to overcome all that and get back to climbing. So that's
Right.
that's a bunch of energy you've got to recover.
Yeah, and I think part of the additional mass to orbit could be they are adding weight with this whole structure on here, but they're also kind of reducing weight a little bit. They may potentially be able to get away with having a few less COPVs on the booster. So right now, as far as we know, the launch mount actually lights all 33 engines, and according to Elon, we're not 100% sure if that's actually in place, because as far as I can tell, there's not really a way of like verifying that. But if that is the case, then the COPVs that are on the booster, and let me get an image that shows these. So the COPVs on the side of the booster are contained within within the chines, and so without needing to, if you never turn off the center 3 engines before the boost back, then you really only have to relight during the landing burn. And I don't know if they may have more than just 3 engines on boost back, but by keeping the engines lit the entire time, that reduces the amount of COPVs they need in order to relight. So that could be another part of that mass gain that they get as well too. I feel like it's not as significant though, because the weight of that interstage piece is probably more than the COPVs, if I had to guess. They may even cancel out, but I would still expect that interstage piece to probably end up being heavier, especially with the dome that it's going to have. But yeah, as I said, that's a pretty cool development in my opinion. Definitely unexpected, and that's a big leap to me. Like especially since they haven't even actually reached orbit yet. It's like they're already designing past when they do reach orbit, which isn't a bad thing. But yeah, that'll be. And I wonder if this is something that'll be used on all versions of the Starship. I'm guessing it'll have to be if it's added onto the boosters. But if you think about, you're already increasing the height of it by an additional or 2 to 4 meters, right? And then you also have. Wait, sorry, I keep forgetting these rings they're 2 meters, right?
1.822 meters tall.
Right.
6 foot
Okay.
even.
Yeah. So you're already going to have that increase, and then if you consider the tanker version of the Starship, which we still haven't seen, that one is supposed to be taller than all of them. Plus, didn't Elon say they were going to stretch the Starship in general?
Yeah, he never said exactly where on the ship, but I think that's a bit of information that's still missing.
Well, he said they wanted to stretch the tanks, though.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of hard to imagine this thing getting even taller than it already is. But I mean, wow, that's going to be quite the sight to see that on the launch mount for the first time when they actually do that. Now, we haven't seen any of the ships get that treatment yet, as far as with the stretched tanks, but I think that'll probably start appearing sometime soon.
Yeah, I suspect that the stretching of the tanks will happen the same time the extra 3 airbags are added.
Yeah, I mean, man, I was pretty mind blown when I heard that, just the reasoning for it. But again, we have been kind of expecting that to some degree. So yeah, we're gonna have to keep our eyes on this, and I think we should expect to see another of the vent section as well soon.
Do we
And
have time? Yeah, go ahead.
sorry, so there's actually 2 of these, right? This is another one down here.
Yeah,
There's no one of them. That
the
one you got
one
your
you're
cursor on.
pointing, yeah, the one you're pointing at was made out of like plain steel, and the one that's got the dome in it looks like it's made out of all stainless. So closer to flight article, except for the top flat ring on it. Yeah, I'm hoping sometime in the next week, Flight Club IO or somebody will put together a proposed telemetry track for a hot staging Starship and publish their results.
What do you think it would show?
Well, see where the 10% comes from.
Yeah,
They're the ones that generate simulated telemetry and will show you, altitude and airspeed and everything, or velocity for any particular rocket or conceptual rocket. And I'd love to see them undertake the hot staging question and come up with their first guess at what hot staging would look like for trajectory.
yeah. I wish I knew enough about that to do that, but I'm one of those fake people who haven't even played Kerbal yet. But I have my reasons.
Yeah, I think it takes a little more than Kerbal, which is why I said Flight Club, because they do the real calculations.
Right, for sure. But yeah, I guess moving on that a similar subject, we did think that there was a possibility that this was going to be involved with the HLS version of the Starship, which I would say, in my opinion, there's no longer any proof of any HLS stuff happening. Or am I wrong? Oh wait, sorry. There is the entire other that was a completely separate piece, wasn't it?
Yeah, in mid-bay now, it looks more like it's not looking so HLS like anymore, and more just maybe very early version of a crude ship prototype.
Yeah, and one other thing I was thinking about that piece, which I wish I had an image of it handy, it could just be the base of the actual test structure. So for this, right now we have Ship 22's nose cone in here, and there's a payload section now sitting outside of here. And matter of fact, I think I may have a better image looking straight on. Yeah, so this is Ship 22's nose cone. And I don't know, it looks, with its position right now, kind of looks like we may be expecting this nose cone to go on top of here.
Yeah, I'm pretty adamant that's what we're going to see next. I don't think that positioning of that payload is just purely coincidence.
Yeah, and with that, I mean, that would make it a test article for the nose cone jail, I believe, at the Massey site. But they also have this ring section here from or 26.1, which is basically the aft section of that, which I'm not really sure how that fits into all of this. I think Jack's had but
I mean, if it goes anywhere, it would have to just go underneath that payload bay, but I don't know. It's a bit strange, really.
oh, I see somebody in the chat is appalled that I haven't played Kerbal. I'm sorry.
I think you have a perfectly legit excuse about getting content out for them to watch.
I'm super busy. Like, I barely have time for a social life, to tell you the truth, let alone Kerbal. So, yeah. This mini Dr. Ib. I'm sorry. That's funny. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. What were we saying on this?
Yeah, I'm just saying, just about that skirt probably going underneath that payload bay. But yeah, it's a strange one. It's because that skirt was quite literally cut off S26.1. So just be
It was
odd if it
cleanly
didn't use a brand new one. Well, true, yeah.
I don't think we've ever seen them cut something off and put it on something else yet, though. As far as I know, that kind of destroys it, but I've never seen them do that before.
I think they did that with GSC4, I think. Because remember, that was pretty much a whole tank at one point, and then it got cut down to size. And then I think they stuck the top of it and the bottom of it together. So yeah, it has happened in the past.
Wait, what? GSC4 got... I do not remember that happening at all.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they cut off the top dome of it. And then I'm not sure about the bottom dome, but yeah, then they turned it into the little test tank again.
I feel like I'm getting old if that's true, because I don't remember that happening. I'm gonna have to go back and check on that one now. Well, I guess if that's the case, it'll be the second time they've ever done that. But yeah, we're gonna have to keep our eyes on that. I don't know if there's any more opinions in the chat, maybe, about this. I don't know if anybody is, if there's even some questions on this as well.
Let me see. Not on the. We're talking about the articles in the medbay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything pulled up. We had a bunch for the hot staging, but we moved past that. Real quick,
let's touch on the hot staging ones.
All right, so before we do that, Mark Meyer, $10 donation. Tank Watcher Vince, $1 donation. Thank you so much. And the hot staging questions are going to be, first one's from Lori. Would they only use the 3 sea-level Raptors for hot stage and ignite the RVACs after separation? Also, are they reducing the grid fins to 3, so only 3 vents are required?
Oh yeah, I know what that is.
Well, I guess I'll answer the first question, and Jake, maybe you can touch the second one. So, if the goal is to not shut off or to keep thrusting with the booster, that means they'll probably at minimum have at least 3 engines running on the booster. So in order for the ship to get away, the ship has to have more than 3 engines. So I'm guessing it'll be all 6.
And yeah, I was just going to mention the whole 3 flap thing for anyone wondering. That was Elon quite a while ago mentioned. I think it was during the first or second EDA Starbase tour. Elon mentioned that they were going to switch to 2 big grid fins and 1 small one. I don't know if that's still the case, but that's the last thing we heard about that.
I hope not.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I don't really want to see that happening.
I mean, I guess you got to squeeze all the performance you can get, and reducing by 1 grid fin kind of drops your weight as well. So, yeah, I mean, I could see why they would want to do that. Visually, it would kind of suck, though.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
Who knows? Maybe we'll just like it. Maybe maybe it could look cool. You're only really seeing it while it's on the ground, anyway. So, Yeah. Any more questions on that?
Yeah, there was another question here from Crane Man. Wouldn't that graded ring collapse under the weight of the Starship?
Wait, the interstage? Is that what he's asking?
Yeah, that new ring with the, I guess, with the cutouts.
I
The hot
mean, it's the only. Well, okay, so the actual aft section of the ship is like heavily reinforced. I think this is a ship aft section right here. These are heavily reinforced, and this isn't even. I don't think this is the completed version of one either. So that's part of that is because it's unpressurized, and so being an unpressurized part of the vehicle, obviously having those huge vents on the side of it, it's going to require a lot of additional structure. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they need to do in order to get a section like this to be able to hold up. What is it? 1,300 tons on the ship, plus the additional force during max Q. Yeah, going to be a lot of reinforcement. Guarantee they'll do structural qualification testing on that. Oh man. Was there a second part of that question?
No, that was it. I mean, there was somebody else. Let's see. Whenever, how much extra mass with the dome, 2 rings, and reinforcement added?
I don't know. We're gonna have to ask somebody who's modeled that. I think maybe Nick might know the answer to that, but I'll have to ask him.
But yeah, that's pretty much it.
We've also got Tony himself in the chat right now, the guy that rendered the renders you showed earlier, so you might be able to answer it in the chat.
Well, we'll see if he provides us an answer with that. Maybe he can calculate that weight for us really quick. Yeah, I'm interested just to know like what that compares to. Like, I guess it'd be difficult to calculate how many COPVs they would be able to shed, but just being able to actually know the weight of this plus that other ring section would be very interesting. I mean, I don't think his mass will include the additional reinforcement on that ring, though, so that's going to be the only thing that makes it not necessarily as accurate. But in the meantime, while we're waiting on that, I guess let's move on. Without Jax here, I don't have a ton to say about the ring section, the ring yard. But maybe Jake, you might have something you want to add on this.
Yeah, they're all round and they're shiny.
Hey, that's what I was gonna say. But there is one big development out here, and that is with just the booster stacking process. So right now, I think we haven't seen as much work on the actual ships. So, well, as far as stacking goes, and maybe I'll bring in some ground pictures here actually as well too. So with ship 28 and 29, or maybe it's just 28 that they're doing this on right now. But let me grab that ground image. That's 22's nose cone. Let's see here. That is a booster.
Oh, that'd be booster 12, the lock tank.
Yeah, we're not supposed to look at that yet. Here we go.
No one saw anything.
So we have, oh gosh, ship 28 right here.
Yeah.
And as you all can see, they are still adding on the tiles in the. Oh, look at that! What are these stickers?
Yeah, I haven't been able to figure out yet exactly what all these colors actually mean. It's interesting, they're placed over the gaps between the tiles at the bottom there, the yellow stickers.
Right. Yeah, that's.
Didn't they used to use like white tape before?
Well, that's what they're doing down here, or up here. You can see they've super taped these ones. There's still a few sections missing, but yeah, they got these ones taped, and then these ones.
Oh, we got green ones and pink dots, with writing of some kind underneath them.
Well, it
Although I
looks
don't
like
think we're going to be able to see that.
those dots are over tiles that might have been replaced. Look at the difference in color.
Yeah. And again, they are over gaps between the tiles as well.
Some of them, like, and up here, they're in the middle. Look, they've painted the tape black. Why? We got a broken tile up there.
Yeah, and they got a bit of tape going over it.
I guess that's what happens when you try to rip the tape off.
Yeah, that's possible.
Probably not, but but just in general, they are getting a lot of that tile work done on 28. I wasn't able to see whether or not they were doing it on 29. Let me try and get. This is the lower. Oh wait, sorry, no, this is still showing the same part of 29 or 28. There we go.
Yeah.
So 29 is turned around backwards, a little difficult to see, but you can see that they still have the gaps in between all of the ring sections, so they haven't started that work yet. And 29 still has its payload door on it, so we're not sure if whatever they just did to 28 will also happen to 29. But I guess the main point of what I was saying here is that, right now they're mainly doing finishing work on these two vehicles, whereas boosters, they're doing super stacking, I guess you can say, because they've really gone way faster with booster 12 than what we've seen with anything other than, I think Jack said booster 4. That was like relatively fast in comparison. So I think it's been, I actually don't know how many days it's been, but less than 30 days. And they have both. I'm going to need to get an angle that actually shows this. I don't think we can see any of those parts on these. Well, yeah. So the methane, the apps. Wow. LOX tank and methane tank for the booster 12 have both been fully stacked. As far as they are at their max height with ring sections, but they haven't been fully stacked and joined together yet. And so with booster 11 out of the Mega Bay, I think it kind of clears room for them to do that, even though I feel like they would have been able to do it anyways. So right now we have booster 9 and 12 in the Mega Bay. 10 and 11 are moved out. And yeah, that is just really, really crazy how fast they're moving with that. Going back over to the aerials there. I think we had one that was looking through the. There we go. So this is a little overexposed on purpose, so we could actually see inside of the Mega Bay. And this is really cool because you can finally see the doorway in the back where they be able to move their Raptors back and forth. I wonder if this is a window because there's an office space above the structure in the back. And I think this may actually be a window that gives them a view inside of the bay, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I think someone got a photo through those windows the other day, and it looked like it was actually a meeting room right behind those windows.
Really? That's awesome. Yeah, with the I think after this image was taken, this is the final section of the
Methane tank for booster 12.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So by the time Mauricio got his ground shots, I think they've already stacked this. So next step for booster 12 will be final stacking. And yeah, as I mentioned, they're moving super fast on boosters, which is really crazy. Elsewhere in the ring yard, we've also mentioned the Mega Bay earlier, Mega Bay 2. As we mentioned, the two rear corners of the building are already stacked on here. So early next week, we'll probably see the front sections lifted on there. And as we mentioned, they're moving at about one level every week and a half or so. Almost down to 1 week, but I don't think that's going to happen. So tons of progress either way. What's going on back here? What is that?
Yeah, I was just about to mention that there's two half rings there that have some spokes on them, and yeah, I'm still not 100% sure yet whether these are actually
Yeah.
full.
If you look at that thing they've got lifted on the crane, I think the next shot shows it laying down on the tarp.
Although that half ring to the left of the crane does look almost maybe a bit turntable-like.
Hold on. I got to get back to it. Looking at a further image.
And yeah, when I say turntable, it'd probably be for inside the factory.
I don't have another image of that right here.
Okay, because I know Mauricio, when we did the show and tell, he found another one with it laying on the white tarp there.
Let's see. Maybe I need pictures from the Star Factory will probably get me. I don't see any. Well, I'm going to scroll through these images one more time. Let's see on this one. Okay, that's about as close as we got right there.
Well, you can see it almost laying down there.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't think we've ever seen anything that looks like that. That looks like a giant like wheel spoke.
Yeah, if you look at the other one, it looks like it's the same thing underneath the tarp on the other, above it.
I guess it could be a turntable. It looks like a huge, almost a bearing. Not really, but
Yeah, as I said, if you look at the one next to the crane to the left, or I don't know if you can actually zoom up it far enough, can you?
I can't.
Oh, damn. But yeah, there was another half ring next to that that looked like it might resemble a bit of a turntable.
Oh, you mean this one up here?
Yeah.
Always getting new stuff out here. Well, I guess we're gonna have to keep our eyes on that one because we don't really have any idea what that's going to be used for. But I guess we may potentially be able to move on to the Star Factory. I guess we should mention the stairs down here. So they've actually started after, well, there's one set of stairs being under construction right here. So have started laying the stairs into these. I still feel like these look different than the old ones for the original Mega Bay, but I have not had a
very
chance to
different.
look at those. Yeah, they're
Oh,
smaller.
yeah. Also, I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but we see in the flyover photo, we see the aft flap lying on the ground next to high bay, and that's since been installed on Ship 28. So Ship 28 now has both aft flaps.
And this is an old flap, right?
That's the one that's on Ship 28 now. Yeah, that's from
22.
22, I think. Yep.
All right. I think I've covered it pretty much everything ever at the ring yard area. I'm just looking through here to make sure I didn't like miss anything obvious. But
Oh yeah, in case anyone was
go ahead.
wondering where the single ring with all the arch cutouts is, it's right in front of tents 1 and 2. You can see it in this flyover. So next to the upside down common dome, to the right of that,
This.
yeah, that's the ring, and that's obviously that's now got the word scrap on it. So yeah, I guess we'll be saying bye to that one soon.
Awesome. Well, let's move over to the Star Factory. Before we do, it's interesting that this is the one tent out here that doesn't have drainage in between it. Pretty large
That's
puddle.
I was going to say that's quite the covering of water they got there.
Yeah. But that'll be gone soon. So we've actually seen them make some major progress on the Star Factory this week. So not only with getting more of the structural sections up, on this section over here, but they've also begun to lay the foundations for the next section of the building, which is crazy. I mean, definitely expected that, but I still don't know if they have room to hit the corner down here for this. I need to get a different angle. Probably not the best angle. But it is a good angle either way. So you can see that they've gotten the second row of supports down here. So there will only be one more because this is shared between the two. At least I think so. I think these are shared. I don't think there will be a second pad down here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's shared. So yeah, they're moving really quickly with that. This roof section right here was already lifted the day after Mauricio did this flyover, and I think they have another one probably already assembled on the ground by now. They've also put another row of vertical supports up, so they're moving super quickly. And soon enough, they're going to be over near where this press pit is, and then really wondering whether or not we'll actually see them bring that equipment in here first, or if that's something they'll have to do after. Like, I would imagine that they want to do that before they get a roof on there. So been on the lookout every day for that massive piece of equipment to show up.
Yeah, certainly be noticeable when that thing turns up.
Yeah, this is really amazing, just the progress that they're making on this. You know, right now they've actually cleared out most of the concrete from down here. The only remaining concrete was basically where the ground fabrication building used to be. It just doesn't even look like the same facility anymore. But yeah, so they had a massive pile of rubble over here, which Starship Gazer got a really cool image of this early in the week. It was a decently sized mountain that they had down there, and it looks like most of it's clear by now, other than what's being broken down here. But yeah, that's a lot of concrete that they had to break out.
Yeah, it's getting quite surreal seeing how much this is changing now and how quickly this is changing.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect that as soon as this is gone, like they do have just a little bit of groundwork to do in between here, but not much. So I feel like once this is gone, we'll, like, every week we're probably going to see the foundation continue to move down in this direction. Still not 100% sure what's happening with this parcel right here. So we know that this SpaceX is in the process of purchasing this. I don't know if they actually, I don't know if they've actually done that yet.
They're in court with the owner, with the court date scheduled for August 6th.
For August 6th?
Yep. So I don't think anything's going to happen until that court date. They're suing the owner for not following his agreements with them after he sold them other properties. He had restrictions on what he could do about selling this property, and apparently he didn't follow those restrictions. So they've taken him to court.
Interesting. Well, that's going to hold up this section of the building, I guess, a little bit.
I think there's just going to be a square hole where that property is, and they'll leave one chunk out of it and put some walls up. And when it's time, they'll put a slab down and put one or two columns in and call it a building.
Yeah, that's going to be kind of awkward going around that, though, for a little bit. But yeah, this is, like I said, really crazy how fast they're moving down here. And we can see, as I mentioned, the conduit going through the building. So it looks like it's actually, I think that there's 6 rows of conduit moving through the building. First time we've actually been able to fully see where they're all laying down at. I don't know if there's 2 on this side or not yet. But yeah, this is really awesome. I've been like hoping that this is going to go faster than expected, and it seems like it kind of is right now.
What certainly will be awesome to see is when they go to actually connect the current phase to what they've already built, the first phase. That'll be that'll be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because So this building, they're going to have to rip off at least this first side at first to connect that. So I think they'll wait till the last possible minute where they actually build all of this up to that wall first before they rip that off.
Yeah.
But then on this part of the building, they may have to leave that entire. It'll be interesting to see whether or not they leave this entire wall open or if they close that entire wall in while they do the next section of the building. Because I guess now that I think about it, it may make more sense to actually throw that wall in because it's going to take another like 3 to 6 months to do this part after that. So, yeah. I mean, it is also possible that it could remain 2 separate buildings, but I doubt that.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to see that.
Yeah. Well, other than that, I don't think there's much more to touch on about the Star Factory. I mean, with the way they've cleared everything up over here, it's like reduces the amount that we have to talk about when we get to this section. But that's fine. It's also awesome to be able to just see all this expansion work. So, speaking on that, we're going to move a little bit more to the north, which is the village area. And starting in the back, all of this ground clearing work has come a long way. They've got a lot more work on the I forget what this road is called right here. But they have the 2 roads going through here. They've also
Weems, is it?
I think this one might be Weems. I'm not 100% sure. Back towards the Airstream Park. And still doing that extension work back here as well too. But yeah, this is a lot of groundwork that's been going on back here as they increase the amount of housing that they have. And yeah, really just great to see that progress. And I'm sure the employees are welcoming that, and a lot of them just sitting around waiting for those houses to be constructed.
Yeah.
Elsewhere out here, sorry, I'm going to go back in this direction. They've finished up all of that underground work for the 3-phase system, so they've been able to return all of this back to its original condition. Still got a lot of sections from the actual ground fabrication building sitting out here, so most of this will probably get moved over to the Sanchez site once they get that building constructed. But yeah, this area really kind of stays the same lately. Other than that groundwork that was happening down there, there's not much going on back here.
Well, they didn't add more solar panels like I thought.
Like in this area?
The solar farm. It looks like they just added more spot. Yeah, they just added more parking there by the looks of it. You can see the spaces painted on the ground.
Yeah. You know, I guess I initially thought they may extend this as well too, because they did have a bunch of solar panels on site waiting to be installed. But yeah, they also need a ton of parking because most of their employees park on the street, as you can see, kind of on here or on the side of the street. But yeah, I guess go ahead.
I said, yeah, just look outside the Prancing Pony to see all the parking. They're all down the road there.
Yeah, I'm really excited with how quickly all of this electrical work has happened. It just really shows like how quickly they're trying to get all this online, because this really should have a huge effect on the actual launch site. And in order to continue operations at the orbital pad, I'm assuming they may try and get this done before the next launch, but there is a possibility that we'll just see all the generators come back as well too. But with that, I think we can go ahead and move over to the launch site, unless we have some questions, Mauricio, that we haven't touched on yet.
Well, there was some questions on the Star Factory. For example, are they going to build or have solar panels on top at some point? Multiple people asked that question.
I mean, it would make sense, but we haven't really seen any evidence of that yet. They haven't done that with the first section of the Star Factory, so like I said, it would make sense. They do have all of this new power coming in from Brownsville, but if you want to have a larger backup system in case that goes down, then it would make sense to have additional solar capacity on the roofs.
All right, and while you switch over, I'm going to read out a couple of memberships and donations. And a last question. So the first, Jake Winlow gifted 10 memberships. Thank you, Jake. Jonas gifted 5 memberships, RGV Aerial Photography memberships. Rocket Profit, another 5 memberships gifted. And yeah, thank you so much. For, everybody thank those 3 members there for their membership gifting. And we have Drew, $5 Canadian. And the question is that 2 more rows of conduit at the top right of the Star Factory by the press pit?
Yeah, so this is, I'm guessing he means just this corner right here. Let me get a better shot of that. So there's probably going to be a control center or a distribution center, like all the power that's distributed throughout the building will probably be like a box right here inside of the building. And I do also believe that they may potentially move all of this conduit that's underground right here. So for the most part, it follows a line and then it splits off into each of these boxes, and then it like recombines again before it comes around the building. But it looks like that it's like within the building, which is not what they want. So they've got some new boxes over here which don't have any conduit running to them yet. So I'm guessing they're going to have to well, I'm not sure how they're going to do this because the conduit's already going underground here. So but it looks like they're going to reroute it through there, which is going to be interesting. I'm actually surprised they haven't done that yet, especially since they are already bringing down more conduit down here on top of the first vault. So I'm going to have to keep our eyes on that one, but it doesn't make sense to have this here without rerouting it to those boxes, in my opinion.
All right, and we're going to be switching over to a launch site now, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, and I have a question here a good question, I guess, from Route 66. Do you think we'll see a static fire test with the hot staging set up under a ship at test stand B? Or any test stand, right?
No. I mean,
they have to test it at one point, right?
Yeah, but I don't know. I guess it would make sense to test it, but that would require them to alter the test stand to move the QD higher up. So I mean, it just wouldn't work on these test stands as they are. But yeah, I mean that's one of those things that potentially could get tested in flight as well.
And they might somehow be able to do it at a sort of subscale at McGregor as well. You know, sort of like how they've tested the water-cooled steel plates. They could do something similar to that with the hot staging as well.
I don't know how they would do that. Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question because I mean, I would think that that's definitely something you would want to know is going to work before you try it. But yeah, I mean, Dave, do you have any ideas? Still with us?
I guess not.
It's all good. Yeah, I guess we'll just leave. We'll move on to the next question. I mean, and I'll just say, in my opinion, I don't think they're going to actually test that.
Yeah, there's no more questions. We can move on to the launch site.
Wait, you know what would be cool though? If they do a static fire, a full stack static fire of the ship.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
That sounds extremely scary, but I think that might be the only way that you could really test that.
Yeah, that'd be a hell of a sight to see, though.
Yeah, I hope they don't do that. Oh man. All right, so I guess we'll continue on talking about the suborbital site. So, as you all know, not much happening over here other than the actual testing campaign. So, Ship 25 is in the process of doing its engine testing campaign. So, as of now, they've done a spin prime. Was that this last week or was it the week before? I think that was this week. So they did
this week.
did a spin prime test this week. We might see an actual static fire test next week. I think, are there closures next week? I'm not certain.
Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday so far, I think.
Okay, so we might actually see a static fire test of 25 this week. And the pad is looking pretty clear, so they're ready for that. I think they're also might possibly be nearing completion with this suborbital pad B. Let me see if I can get a ground shot of it though.
Yeah, I mean they could test ships on it, but it's still hasn't had any of the same upgrades that Test Stand B's had.
Right, the ultra purge and all that.
Yeah, and the super reinforced legs and yeah, and the foam dag underneath as well.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Cancel that idea of trying to find the ground image.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have some interesting things that I noticed in here. I was originally expecting the electrical work to come through here and connect to the conduit that's already underground, but it seems like that's not going to happen. So right now they actually have, let me grab a different image, like a long distance image, I guess. So looking at the launch site down here, you can see that where they originally stopped. So like I said, I thought they were maybe going to come across the street here and go into the suborbital site from that way, but they've actually continued the conduit. They've joined it into a single trench, and right now they have two large boxes in the ground right here. So 2 more vaults in the ground, and we've also seen them start to cut out the concrete in here. So I don't know if they're. It's tough to tell. Like looking from this is Rover 2 cam. We've seen them cutting concrete in this area, but it's tough to tell exactly where they're going with it. But from what it looks like, they may be about to cross the street with that this electrical conduit.
I also couldn't help noticing something. Even with the temporary fence across that entrance, they're not even having luck with that either.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is probably like the 12th time this fence is blown over.
Yeah.
It lasted, I think, until the security got down to the roadblock for the cryo test, and then it fell over. I don't even think the security had made it to the roadblock, and it blew over.
Yeah. I mean, one day they'll have a permanent fence up here. They've not had very good luck with it so far, though. But yeah, so moving back over here, that electrical work is going to be pretty big in the coming weeks, I think. Well, I mean, it already is, but as far as getting into the actual launch site, so initially I was kind of expecting them to come all the way down across and then cross over to the control bunker over here, but they may actually need an electrical substation within the launch site itself. So there is a possibility that there could be one in this area. This area is going to get kind of congested, it looks like. So they still have this structure down here, which is, we believe, Dave, is this the pump station? Or sorry, I don't know if he's actually still here. Possibly the pump station for the fire suppression system for the tank farm.
Yeah, that's our best guess.
Yeah, so this right now appears that it's going to at least stay here for now. They haven't done any work to move that. But what they have done, as you guys can see here, is they finally started to uncover all of these CFA piles that are in the ground for where we're expecting these new tanks to be located. So we actually had a few images. We had somebody edit an image to show what this pattern looks like going all the way across, and I don't have that on me at the moment. But from what we can tell, there's I think it's 62 piles in each strip, so like a total of 124, which is crazy because down here there's 0 underneath any of these tanks. So really interesting why they have such a large difference in the foundation between these two areas, and kind of just still raises the question on what exactly is going to be here. So I mean, it seems right now that if you look at where the center line is in these two areas, these tanks appear to have more spacing with the base than what's over here, like just a little bit. So it looks like whatever's going to be here will be slightly longer than these, but maybe not quite as long as these ones. So possibly something in the middle. But it's possible that they could be a lot larger diameter, which is going to be interesting. I mean, between Starbase and KSC, like these are really the only two sized tanks that we've really seen them work with for all their cryo storage. So, I mean, we haven't really seen an in-between size on this yet, but it's totally possible. And, we've been speculating on whether or not if it's possible to like double stack them or something like that. Another thing that I just can't see actually happening. It doesn't seem like a smart idea, but it would possibly explain why they have so much foundation or so much ground support down here for the actual foundation. But yeah, we're gonna have to keep our eyes on that one. This work doesn't look like they're actually trying to get it done before the next launch, though. So this is
I'm not sure if it means anything, but when we were looking at the show and tell, it looks like those are in patterns of 7 in hexagons.
Yeah, I thought they could. It's either in patterns of 7 or it's in patterns of 6.5. So there's kind of like an X shape down here, like because if you the pattern you're talking about is right here.
Yeah.
But then there's the 3 extra piles on the edge. So there is possibility that this is the center line of the tank, or this could be the center line of the tank. So it's either in groups of 6.5, or 6 with a support in between, or it's these groups of 7 right here.
And I was away for a second, but this shot up at the top edge there shows the new CH4 filling ports behind the low wall there, right there. Yep.
Yeah. So as you all know, they're not going to really be able to fill up methane on the landing pad anymore. So it looks like they've extended the fill ports down. And as of this week, they've begun delivering methane back to the orbital tank farm. So we'd already seen them start deliver LOX and LN2 to the front of the tank farm, but this is the first time we've actually seen them start to deliver methane again. So definitely a good sign.
And then I don't know if you saw it in live comms, but Jeff posted a picture from Rover 2 of the vaults that are going in behind Rover 2.
Yeah, let me check that out really quick. Bring up that picture. So yeah, these are the vaults right
Gives you an
here.
idea of how massive they are.
They don't look that big from the sky, but when you see them on the ground, these things are really, really large. Yeah, so this is right behind where Rover 2 is, and okay, so the trench, they've already extended past it, so it doesn't look like it's going to cross the street then, and it will actually go all the way to the comms bunker down there. Man, that is a lot of groundwork.
The things we can't see when they're behind our cameras.
Right. So I guess with that said, hold on, that's the wrong picture. And maybe this is the right one. I think I lost the. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So as I said, it looks like they're continuing all the way down to the side, which will basically run into the comms building and cross the street here. So at some point, they'll either go under the street or actually shut the street down so they can dig underneath it. I think the directional drilling may be the way to go, other than the fact that they'll have to like break out all the stuff in here, but they may have to do that anyways. So, but yeah, so we're still waiting on the actual foundation work for that structure to be for those tanks to be completed. But they have done some new alterations inside of the tank farm as well. So one of the big things that I noticed this week was they actually the vent that's on this heat exchanger tank. So this is the recondenser tank. There's two sets of recondensing systems in here. So there's this tank right here, which is primarily used during detank operations, and also this one is used during prime up. So when you normally see the vent on the launch mount, like as they're pre-chilling the lines, this is the same thing that does that for the methane side. So usually as they're doing the pre-chill process, you'll see this tank venting, and you'll actually see this tank venting during the day as well too, because it's usually processing the methane from these tanks and recondensing the boil off gas from these tanks. And so usually this vent was going straight up into the air, and it looks like now they've either just rerouted it so that it's facing the ground, or they may actually potentially be diverting this to another location here soon. So that'll be interesting. I personally don't think that... I've been thinking about this a lot because, you know, they're going to need nitrogen for the water tank system. So we go over there. So they're going to need a way to provide nitrogen to these tanks, and they don't have like any like vaporizers or anything, or like a liquid nitrogen supply coming to this area. So it's going to be interesting to see how they actually fill these tanks. And with that said, it is a possibility, a slim one, that they could be vaporizing the nitrogen inside of the tank farm and sending it over there as a gas. And so the two things that I've kind of been considering here is that they added this vaporizer in the front of the two liquid nitrogen tanks a few months ago, and there is a possibility that the reason they did this was to actually send that vaporized nitrogen over to that tank system. So right now, and I'm not 100% sure where this goes, but there is a stainless steel pipe going underneath the driveway back here. So this is a new addition, and it actually turns in between these tanks here. Oh, I'm sorry.
Wrong picture.
Wrong picture. So vaporizers. The vaporizers added in front of the two liquid nitrogen tanks right here. So this was added in at the beginning. Either end of last year or the beginning of this year, they added these in, and we never were able to figure out what they were actually used for. But as I was saying, there's the pipe that goes underneath the driveway right here, and then it turns into between the storage tanks. You can kind of just barely see it down there. So I'm not sure if it actually comes here, but if it does, this potentially could be the actual nitrogen supply for those tanks. But in that case, they just haven't started it yet. It also kind of, Dave mentioned earlier, looks like a drain. So that also could be a possibility as well, that this is just another drain line similar to the other two drains. Actually, there's three of them. Three sets of prime up drains that are over here. But yeah, I mean, I've just always wanted to see them potentially reuse the boiled off nitrogen gas from this process, but it's not exactly 100% like reasonable to do that. But this kind of looks like they may potentially be doing something with it, or it's, like I said, just moving the vent to the ground level. In the past, I think we've seen I really feel like it was with this tank mostly, where when they're doing like a lot of recondensing, the nitrogen cloud that comes off of the top of the tank sometimes will all of a sudden drop down to the ground, and then they end up having to like shut down the front of the tank farm area because it's just a nitrogen cloud down there. So this could be a way of like keeping it on the ground inside of the tank farm instead of having it go up in the air and falling outside of the tank farm. But we're gonna have to wait and see in the next couple of weeks what they end up doing with this.
And Zach, there's 2 more pictures from VIX in live comms of the conduit headed down to the bunker site.
Cool. I will pull those up really quick. Yeah, so this is the conduit going past the vault right here on the bottom left. So continuing all the way down. So yeah, one of the other things we've been on the lookout is just for any signs that they may be adding in the additional pumps down here, which we haven't really seen yet. They have been working on them though, because they have all the scaffolding up over here. But not a lot of other real changes going on in the tank farm other than alterations to this, and they have a bunch of pipework that they're seem to be setting up in preparation for the expansion down here. But you know, this is going to be a really difficult process to actually move these, because it completely changes the entire way that the tank farm works by having your nitrogen tanks way over there. So, yeah, gonna have to keep our eyes on this, and I think this is a project that's going to be going on like past the end of the year because they're not going to want to like have this be a barrier in the way of them doing testing. So. With that, I think we can probably move over to the launch pad area.
Yeah. I just want to take a bit more of a look at the all the water deluge hardware at the back at the launch site.
Back here?
There we are. Yeah.
Did you have something you wanted to mention on this one? So I can show some ground images of this as well too.
Yeah, I just want to mention obviously just the gas manifolds, they seem to have developed quite a bit more since the last flyover. And it looks like you've got the smaller valves would be for the 4 smaller water supply tanks, and I think the bigger valves will be for the 2 biggest water supply tanks.
Yeah, this has been an interesting setup to me just because of the way that the difference in size between these 2 manifolds, having the smaller manifold for the larger tanks. But yeah, they it looks like they actually disconnected the first part of the supply manifold, which is odd. I think they may have.
I think I saw that pipe leave on a trailer today or yesterday, so they may be doing some work on it.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I mean, I'm surprised they're doing this right now just because of the fact that they have all of these additional tanks down here, so we're like not sure what's going to happen with that. And also, another thing that happened at the end of the last week, the CFA pile driver, the CFA drilling rig, came down in this area. We don't know where, but it drilled a bunch more piles down in this area somewhere. So they're definitely not done because they're about to add something else down here. They're doing even more foundation work for something. I don't think they did drilled piles for these, so I don't think that'll be whatever they're preparing for involves these yet.
One thing is that pipe that's not really connected right now between the gas tanks and the gas manifold has flanges on both ends, like there might be another feed into it from the left side. So there might be another stack of tanks going in somewhere off to the left.
Oh, that would make sense.
It's also worth mentioning as well, there is another white pipe slightly further up there that does have a flange like that on the end of it as well. So maybe that's going to go where the current one was. And it looks like, yeah, there's no flange on the other end of it, so there might be pipe work extending out. further. That might deal with these new gas cylinders.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting. So they also right now they're also working on these adding on the ports onto the top of these tanks. So they have the injection manifold for the gas on top of these 4 tanks. So they need to do the same thing down here. But while they're also doing that, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think we've got a ground shot of the manifolds on top of the 2 new tanks.
Check that out.
We do, and while you look at that, the pressure pipe on the 4 tanks ends in a T-fitting as a vent line when they're done with the pressure. It looks like at the end of the launch, they would vent those all off.
Yeah, and that's what's happened with the manifold and the 2 new tanks as well, I noticed.
Yeah, a little difficult to see back there, but yeah, you can see the... Where is it going down into the tanks? Is this it right here?
I think so, yeah.
That is really difficult to see. Let's see if I have another angle of that. Yeah. Oh, okay. So there's a valve right here. So this is like the same as what we're seeing down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the traditional T-vent.
So on top of these, what do we call them? Weir pipes? What's the actual name for these?
That was the name that somebody came up with, and I think it's a good name. Yeah, Weir pipes, W-E-I-R.
Right.
Makes sense.
Basically, you're going to want to have like an anti-siphon system in this. And so in order to do that, or a siphon breaker, essentially, you're going to want all of the air inside of here to have a place to go as you're filling up the vertical section of this. And so they've added on a pipe to each of these at the apex. And so essentially, I guess normally you may expect just to see like a vent up here, and then the air would vent straight out of the vent, but it looks like they're actually diverting it somewhere else. So I don't know if the purpose of that is...
my thought was that it will allow them to inject gas there and break the siphon to stop the flow.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, it could work both ways. It could...
Exactly.
Yeah, it could work in both ways. And, one of the things I was thinking of is that, obviously at some point there's going to be water coming out of it, right? And with the way these are set up, there's not an actual valve there. So this could just be continuously open. So as the water is being pressed out of here, it's also potentially going through this small pipe and recycling back to... I don't know if they can recycle back to the tanks, though, because the tanks will be pressurized, so I don't know if they'll be able to push back to the tanks. But it's been a little bit difficult to kind of tell what's happening with these pipes after they come down to the ground. Looking at that from the aerial side. You can kind of see... Oops, wrong image. The pipes down here inside of the... like it comes down from the top of this and then goes down into the ditch here, but then it also comes back up underneath here, so it's really tough to tell what's actually happening yet. There's a lot more work left to be done on this. They're also about to encase the other elbows down here, so this will give it a lot more stability and not be banging around with the water hammer, essentially. I don't know if water hammer is the right term for this in this case, but that's essentially what's happening. They've also moved all of the pipes that were up here in this area down here. I think they were just really trying to get them out of the way. At first, it kind of looked like they were about to start installing that stuff, but as you can tell, they still have a bunch more rebar work down here that they're doing. And on that note, let's go ahead.
A lot less rebar than last week.
Yeah, definitely a lot less. And now we can actually see where all that rebar is going. Looking at the base of the launch mount, this is a lot of rebar.
Yeah, it's intense, to say the least.
But this is the light side. The other side has real rebar.
Yeah, so right now we have two different layers. So there's, I can only really guess on this. I would say maybe like 1.5 meters or so. And then there's another step up
Way
here.
more than that. Look at the ladder and count the rungs. That's almost 10 feet there.
So 2.5 meters.
Yeah, over 3.
And then there's another step right here, which takes it up to the
if you look,
top
so if you look on the left of your cursor, there's another ladder up by the Jersey barrier by the leg. That's another 10 feet or something from there.
Yeah, and it's really tough to see like how far down that is. That's just going down onto the this first tier right here, right?
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, this is massive.
And then when we get to the other side, we'll see that the final top rebar is like twice the diameter of this lower stuff. It's huge.
Yeah. First, before we go over there, you can see that they have this little trench down here. So I think these are just wall supports on the side that are temporary. But this is basically a trench for one of the water pipes to go underneath here. So there'll be another water pipe crossing over it. And one running underneath and coming back up. So they're preforming that into the actual foundation. Also, you can see that they've brought back in the cryotubes, which is really, really weird to me. It almost seems like a conflicting operations a little bit, just because underneath this, as you can tell, they've got a small wall right here, which looks like there will be a wall that before they had U-shaped culverts, it's really tough to see them down here because they're embedded in the ground. They had concrete culverts in the ground that ran all the way to the base of the launch mount here. And it looks like they're replacing that with by actually forming the foundation around the pipes. So the reason I say that's really odd is just because, I mean, when you pour this concrete, you're going to want to get under here to like flatten that surface out. So it's really weird to me that they've actually put the tubes down here. It almost suggests that they're going to encase the tubes in concrete, which I just highly doubt will actually happen. So with that being said, it's just odd to me that they have these tubes down here already.
Well, my thought is we may be seeing the deluge tubes going in very shortly before they pour concrete also, because I suspect they may be pouring a vault under and over the tubing in one pour and basically frame out around the tubes and foundation them.
You mean through here?
Yep. In other words, build a box around the tubes of concrete forms and pour below and above all in one shot. And do the same with the water pipes.
It's tough to tell from what we've been able to see. That, I mean, it doesn't look like there's a tunnel going through there, but I guess there very well could be. As far as what we've kind of been looking at, and I think Ryan has kind of changed his design on this as well too. That there will be no manifolds on this side of the table. Is kind of what it looks like right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that take.
Yeah, and I tend to agree with that, but I also think they're going to try to pour everything up to grade level in one pour, which means they have to pour the vaults for the 3 pipes coming in from the left as part of that pour, and probably have the pipes already inside them at that time. Otherwise, you have a seam. Otherwise, you have a seam in the concrete between the left side and the right side, which is probably not where you want a seam.
Yeah. I mean, it is possible though that they could pour this slab first and then without doing the secondary part of the foundation, right? I mean,
I think the right
exterior.
side is all the way up to grade. Yeah, but I think the underneath, the right side is up to grade and the left side is 10 feet down. Right now.
Right.
You can tell you can see those coming almost up to grade. You can see the rebar like just below the grade there. But that's huge rebar. That's like 1.5 inch diameter rebar. That's massive diameter. Whereas the stuff on the other side is probably 1 inch. And so this upper layer has not been assembled yet.
Over at when we were doing show and tell a few days ago, we used the ladder they used the ladder to approximate the thickness of the concrete. And, but there was some comments on our last video saying that it could potentially be a lot more than what we estimated. What did we estimate, Dave? What did you all say it was, like 3 meters, 2 meters?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, somebody was saying it was something around 6 meters, but it's really hard to tell to even get an exact number at this point, right?
Well, so we had 2 ladders. I think each was about 3 meters, so up to the middle and then from the middle to the top. So 6 meters is probably about right.
Yeah, that's super thick. 2 C's. Yeah, this is going to be really awesome when we get the next flyover in, because they still had a little bit more form work to do, or rebar work to do down here. You can kind of see this open edge down here, versus this one has been kind of finished off. But yeah, I mean, I think they over the last few days, we've seen a lot of workers in this area, mostly in the center. And so they've also been laying down these
the big embeds.
The embed plates. So as far as we know, there's at least 3 of them that have been laid down. We're not sure if more of them have also been installed. But that is one of the other big steps that has to take place before they can actually lay that concrete.
Well, I would expect that the embeds are only going in the section that has the top layer of rebar in it, so they can only put the 3 on the right side in. The 3 on the left side still need to have the rebar for them to go into assembled.
The
left side is still 10 feet below grade. It's too low for the embeds.
You mean down in here?
Yep. That's still 10 feet below the ground level. That's way too low to put an embed on it.
Yeah, I think the way that Ryan had them laid out, that the embeds are on the inside of the lip right there.
Yeah, but I don't think that full lip is up to full height yet, all the way around. Because I think they're still building the what the pipes under the embeds are going to go on that side. They still got to finish building that structure.
Yeah, I mean, from what we were able to see, the manifolds would actually end up sitting right here, and so the embeds are a little bit back there. Let's see if I can. This is an overexposed image, so we can see it a little better. Yeah, the actual. Matter of fact, maybe I have a good image of this.
Yeah, we're definitely changing our times. We're doing the flyovers. The next one's at 12, and then in July we're going to be doing 11 a.m. flyovers to be able to get a good look underneath the OLAM. So yeah, we're fixing that.
You just need to get a day like you had about 4 weeks ago, where we had 12,000-foot overcast, and it was a nice shadow-free view underneath there. It was amazing.
Yeah, we were right below that cloud layer that one time.
Getting up there in the morning is good because the sun's shining in through this side, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is pretty incredible. I mean, it would be nice to get one more shot before they actually do that concrete job, but I have a feeling that they may start relatively early this week.
Yeah, they're pretty close to being able to do that, I think.
I think they still need to put some outer forms around this to contain the concrete at the bottom once they have all the rebar in place.
Definitely. I think there's a chance that they've already done that by now.
Yeah.
I see
I
some
agree with that.
form work right here. There's some wood to go around the edges. So I have a feeling that part's already done. And this is actually interesting. So if we can get some measurements off these later, we might be able to determine how thick this is by looking at these, possibly. But got to know if they're standing up this way or if they're laying down sideways. So hopefully we'll be able to get at least one more shot in before they get all of this pad like poured in the next week or so. But looking at the top of the launch mount, there's also some work going on up there. So they've been doing some work with the booster QD. So I'll get a ground image of that really quick.
Yeah, I just realised we've got road closures this start of this week as well, so maybe things might not go as quick with that groundwork this week.
Well, tomorrow's road closure is interesting because it doesn't start till 3 p.m.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a very good point.
So we've got a half day closure tomorrow and then full days on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Find an image showing the side of the booster QD a little better. This might be a good one. So yeah, last week I think we mentioned last week that they actually I don't know if this was up here last week, but they have a new plate that they've installed on the side of the booster QD. I'm guessing this may end up going all the way up, so they'll probably add more on here. So you can kind of tell that this got worn down a little bit during the launch attempt or during the launch, and that part of that was because the booster actually shifted over the launch mount. So this was like in direct path of the flames, essentially. And then when we look at the top of the launch mount, the same is true about this area over here. So it kind of, these areas right here are what was like extra burnt. And so we've seen them add new burn plates onto the side of the booster QD. And down here on the ground, there's another plate right here. And we believe this one may actually be a replacement for one of the top plates, the top plate that goes in the corner up here. So this would be one of the ones that was under the direct fire of the engines. So while the rest of this seems to have done pretty well during that launch, it looks like at least one of these panels was relatively damaged. So they're going to be replacing that. But that's good because, having a system like that where you're able to just replace stuff like that instead of actually damaging the real top deck of the launch mount is a good design. Obviously, as Elon mentioned, they're probably still going to want those water-cooled plates up top, which we've still not seen any signs of yet. But for now, it seems like a good solution. We've also seen the booster QD, the actual rear plate for it, or the shield, was lifted back into place this week. So in those ground images, it was missing, but it is now it's now in place again.
Yeah, the rear cover was lifted into place yesterday.
Yeah, it's nice seeing some of these things going back into place again now.
And look at all the pretty shiny insulation on those flex pipes.
Yeah, I can't tell if these are brand new hoses or if they just redid the insulation on them, but they look really good.
The same ones that were over near the tracking station, because there's a load missing off the Raptor installation platform now.
Oops, I was trying to show it from the back a little better. There we go. So did they just replace the outer shielding?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see that plate right here a little bit better as well. So they have a matching one on the other side. Going back to the aerial view. So we mentioned in the beginning of the show that they're going to need to replace the umbilical for the ship QD, and we're now no longer expecting it to be the same as it was before, since they're probably going to have to extend the since they're going to be extending the booster, essentially adding on either 1 or 2 ring sections on top of it. This will have to change as well too, in order to match that height of the new QD, or match the new height where the QD will be located. So we've been waiting to see when this will come back, and now we kind of have an idea of what's going on with that. It's going to look really interesting, and I wonder if it'll, like I said before, it was able to actually kind of like lay semi-flat on top of here, and then it lifts up when it connects to the ship, but now it's going to have to be significantly higher, so it'll be interesting to see what they do in order to retrofit this to work for that.
Yeah, I'm also interested to see. I'm sorry, I'm interested to see whether this happens for 9 or 10.
Good point.
Or 8.
I definitely
or 9.
wonder. Yeah, I definitely wonder. At what point is it going to get to where they're just actually going to have to move the entire arm up? Because as Zach said earlier, at some point this is going to get a bit not quite stable enough if they just keep moving the QD on the end of the arm up more and more.
Yeah, that was why I proposed that they make a new end effector for the arm, so that last angle of the arm could become L-shaped and go up another story.
Yeah, I mean, the stability is going to be the biggest part. They could have another like A-frame attached to it as well too, that kind of keeps it stable on the side. But yeah, we haven't seen any signs of that yet. But yeah, do we have anything else we wanted to mention over here at the launch site that I missed? I feel like I'm missing something big.
Maybe not so major, but it does look like they might be adding clamps back on the hold-on clamps back onto the OLM again. There seems to be black covers over the ends of the arms now.
Yeah, I saw that. I wasn't sure if they were just covering up the ends so they don't get rusted before they put the new clamps on, but it is possible that they're already in place.
The other thing is behind the OLIT, the staircase they were working on, it looks like there's more stair sections being assembled on the ground by the berm. So there's 2 different areas of construction happening there.
Right. So they built a walking platform to get across to the bottom of the tower.
Yeah, but then if you look over by the berm, there's like 8 sections of stairs being assembled. Keep going down. Yeah, right there.
Yeah. It's a bit interesting. I mean, I was wondering if it's possible that these may go on the inside of the tower actually instead of the outside. So like, I don't know if it's even possible to fit something in the same shaft as the elevator, or if it's taking up all that space or not.
No, I think there's actually a fair amount of free space, so you might be able to. I'm wondering if these might become legit fire escape type stairs in there.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, that someone did mention the other day, it does look like these have got tabs on them to fit where the cladding would go on the tower.
Yeah, you can kind of see.
Yeah.
Well, that would be interesting. I'm assuming that would be on the not this side of the tower, but the other side of the tower where that would go, if that's the case.
But should go on the one side that is not. I mean, there's only one corner that's free because the other 3 corners have the claw from the sticks on it. So you can't really go up anywhere but around that back corner or half the width of the tower, and you've got the cable chain on one side, so that even limits you more.
Yeah, and you've got the line for the chopsticks on that side of the tower as well. It's halfway up on the outside there.
Right.
Yeah, so inside it would certainly sound preferable. I don't know if they can make it work, or it's going to have to just hug right up to the leg on that back corner, which it might be. So it might go up that back leg and then come across the top of the drawworks and out to the ground stairs.
Yeah. Do we have? Hold on. Let me check some ground images to see if it shows the platform up there. Oops. I just totally messed that up. And I don't know how to undo that. Let me grab the ground image though. So, do we see the front of the tower?
Yeah, that's that corner there would be the so that's the one that's got the cable chain running up it.
Rolling through these images. Let's see if this is like. This kind of shows it. Sorry, I'm still scrolling through these images up top. No, that's too far over. There we go. Yeah, so we I don't think we have one far enough over to the left that really shows what this is connecting to. But
Next week.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen any preparations on the side of the tower for that stairway to go up yet, but that'll be really interesting. It's kind of, like you said, mostly for fire escape purposes, you think?
Well, if we have another elevator accident, we don't want to be using manless next time.
Yeah, good point. Cool. Well, we're nearing the end of the show. I want to make sure that we get a chance to answer any questions that from the chat, and also if there's any donations that we haven't touched on.
Oh yeah, we can go ahead and touch on the questions. And the first question here just came in from 55 Chevy Guy. Question for Zach: what did they change the exhaust valves on the CH4 Hippos? Or why did they change the exhaust valves on the CH4 Hippos?
Oops. Sorry, I messed up my little stream here in the background, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to show this the right way. I am not sure, to tell you the truth.
My guess is just they decided they needed better control, or maybe they had problems with the existing valves. The key there is to keep the liquid nitrogen in the Hippos warmer, they let it pressurize a little bit, and so the vents on the CH4 Hippos are pressure controlled, unlike the ones on the LOX Hippos.
Right. Yeah, they have. There's the emergency vents on the backside as well too. I'm not sure if that's the ones he was mentioning. Did they remove those? They did. I think they may have removed the two vents that were right here.
Yeah, they are missing. You can see better in the ground shots.
Right.
And it looks, I think during show and tell the other day, it looks like they might have changed the actuators slightly as well. They seem to be higher up from the pipe. Yeah. I think that's what 55 Chevy Guy is referring to.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they may have discovered they, with the amount of cold gas they were venting, that the actuator rods were getting too cold up to the actuators, and they need to go to a more cryos type actuator.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go check on some older images and relook on that. Any more launch site questions, Mauricio?
Yes, we have from On the Water. This question is thoughts on the potential cover for the pancake. How will SpaceX prevent FOD, or I guess debris, right, from entering the system through the showerhead when not in use?
Well, we're not really sure what the nozzles will look like, but we're assuming that they probably close when they're not under pressure. So, kind of like a sprinkler head. But we're not 100% sure what they look like yet, so it's a little bit difficult, in my opinion, to speculate on that.
All right, the next question here is from Mark Smith. Do you guys think there will be fondant for the top layer of the concrete?
We talked about this last night, and I don't know. It is possible, but it may not be necessary. That's one of a question that we're hoping Elon may be able to answer when they do the next Twitter space. But yeah, it would be good possibly just to give it an additional failsafe. So like if somehow the water-cooled system failed and the booster ended up burning through, like having a Fondag layer underneath it might be a good idea, just because you guarantee that the foundation that it won't burn through the foundation as well too. But yeah, it's a little tough to know that for sure until we actually see what they start bringing in here as far as material goes to fill in this.
All right, I'll take 2 more questions here. One of them's from JK Video. There seems to be 3 tents in the tank yard. Any idea what is going on under them?
I'm guessing they mean these tents down here.
Yes.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
Yeah, I mean, not really sure. They could be just doing some welding underneath there. I don't see any actual welding units on the side over here, but this could also just be like, to take breaks underneath because it's super hot outside right now. So, yeah.
Well, certainly the top left tent is set up in one of their traditional 3-container welding bunkers.
I suppose it's possible they might be working on a ship QD underneath there, because we still haven't actually seen where that's gone. The one that they removed off the arm.
Yeah, very true.
All right, and the last question here is going to be from Senti. Do we think the angled pipes provide a siphon for the deluge? Not sure if he's referring to the deluge pipes that are sticking up, maybe.
Yeah, I think he's talking about the weirs, and they're probably almost anti-siphon, so that you can hold water in the system without it flowing while you're prepping the system, sort of like the trap in a toilet. And we have some more donations.
All right, yeah, we got a donation from John Dopker, and the message for $10. Can't forget Sunny Snacks. So thank you, John Dopker. And earlier, the 55 Chevy Guy donation was for $10. Thank you so much, 55 Chevy Guy. James L., thanks for the good show today. $10 donation. Thank you all so much for the donations. We really do appreciate that greatly. And we're pretty much at the top of the show here. Zach, do we want to wrap it up?
Yeah, sure. We can go ahead and do that. I guess I'll sign off then. This is Zach Golden, and I want to thank all of you for joining us this week. I'm a little bit low energy this week, kind of have a really big headache going on, but I'm glad I was still able to make it through the show. So thank all of you for your patience. And I guess I will see you all next week. Jake?
Yeah, it's been fun doing commentating on another stream, and it's been fun being able to review all these awesome photos from Mauricio with you. And I look forward to the next time I'm on. With that, I'll pass it over to Dave.
And thank you, everybody, for coming for another exciting week of RGV aerials. Obviously, this week was high delta, high change, especially with Elon's little info drop yesterday, even if we didn't get as much as we wanted. And with that, I will pass it to Mauricio to wrap it up.
All right, before I wrap it up, I want to say that we've been working hard on a flyover update video, and I would really appreciate it if y'all give it a watch. You won't be disappointed. Well, I don't want to hype it up too much, right? Actually, check it out. I'll post it in the link in the chat here, and we're releasing the video here shortly, so be on the lookout for that. You guys get a sneak peek, I guess, for a few minutes before it goes public. And that's it for me. Thank you so much, and also thank you, Jake, Zach, Dave, for joining us today. It was a great show. And I guess I'll sign off. Stage separation confirmed. Love you, bye.